in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick, every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out there in a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Wormman series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom, goes the dynamite.
Every moment on the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bass University Live. It's Tuesday night. We're glad to be back with you guys for another great edition of the Bass University Live. We've got an amazing show. I really like tonight's content. I think you guys are too. It's going to be all about brush piles, how to make them, where to drop them, how to catch fish out of them. That's going to be tonight's show. And we've got two really young but amazing anglers that are going to be with us tonight from the Bassmaster Elite Series. We've got Clent Davis. He's winner of the FLW Championship and is just a stellar angler with, he was Rookie of the Year over there as well. And now he's fishing over at the Elites. And we've got Brandon Cobb, who we've had on the show many times before. He's from the Lake Hartwell area, specializing in herring lakes, cane piles, and all those types of stuff. And he's a two-time Bassmaster Elite Series winner. And we're awful excited to have him with us tonight. So it's going to be a great show, all about brush piles, how to plant them, how to catch fish out of them. So bring your questions, guys. It's going to be a great topic. I'm looking forward to talking about it because there's a lot of things that I don't know about. Man, the whole strategy behind planting brush piles and where to plant them, how to do it. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. We've got our crew with us tonight. I'm awful glad to see GDP in the house. It's good to see you, buddy.
You too, Pete. Good to see you, man.
Fresh back in from the Elite Tournament Trail, and your hands recovered from catching all those smallmouth?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they're pretty much calloused over for all the years, but yeah, they're still beat up a little bit.
Well, that's cool. It was great watching you and out there catching all those smallmouth. Two of the most amazing places in the history of the world. Lake St. Clair, I still think, is ranked in the top 2 or 3 lakes in the country. You know?
Yeah, it's definitely up there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I was close to you. I don't know if you knew it, but I was out while you were out at St. Clair. I was out at Lake Michigan.
Yeah, with Kevin, right?
Out at Traverse City, looking at the bays out there. Just incredible. I've never been up to the northwest part of Michigan. Really unique country, man. You felt like you were near the North Pole, you know?
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that place you just said, actually.
The North Pole?
No, Traverse City area.
Heard the North Pole's great this time of year.
You got to break through to launch your boat, break through the
big
ice.
smallmouth.
Right, they fish icebergs out there.
Yeah.
Brush piles.
Hey.
There's tons of wildlife up there. The house rental that we came out of, I got scared to death. I come out of the house in the morning. It's still dark, and I spooked a whole bunch of deer. And they were like right next to me, and they stomped through the street and scared me to death. Took me at least an hour to recover from that. I thought I was going to get eaten by a bear.
Right.
I heard the hooves that hit. When the hooves hit the streets, that's when I finally relaxed. I'm like, they're not wolves, they're not bear.
Oh, man.
I'm going to be all right.
You're going to be all right, Pete. You're going to make it.
And I made it. And I hear BTC pushing the buttons and the Rizz.
That's right.
Great to have you guys. It's been a busy weekend. I can't wait to talk about it, but we're going to be talking about Rizz's big weekend. But great to have you pushing the buttons, BTC. How are you tonight?
Good, man. 3 in a row. Spam calls from Trenton. Just like that. Whap, whap, whap. Happens every night about this time. A little off topic, but yeah. Anybody else got that problem?
I do too.
Man,
my God.
Yeah.
Build that wall.
I'm
between my phone and
I get offers for college loan, like refund investment. I never had a college loan, but
I'm getting hammered with. I started poking around. I'm loving all the interest rates right now. So I'm looking at. I'm interested in refi. What it can do, cut my mortgage down, and I made the mistake of clicking on one of those things, and I must get 5 calls and 10 emails a day They want to get me.
Maybe they want to learn about bass fishing, Pete.
There you go. Sell them a subscription.
Yeah.
Right? I should do that, man. I should turn the tables. They're trying to sell me. I'll sell them right back.
That's right.
Yeah,
Sell them back.
there you go.
Yes. So, Rich, what do we got going on tonight, boss?
Tonight, as always, we're giving away a ton of awesome products for all the questions that come through on the IM board. There's all kinds of stuff in front of me here, guys. I don't know how good you can see it on the camera, but we got hats, we got TH Marine products, we got Rapala, VMC, RTD, erupt fishing, rod threading devices, all kinds of good stuff.
What do we got them for?
What's that?
What do we got them for?
For anybody that gets a question through on tonight's show, we're going to be hooking you up with a prize. Now, here's the thing.
Boom!
You got to be on bassu.tv/live to get your questions through to the show. So, if you're not already a member, now is a perfect time to sign up. Use code BULive30, and you're going to get 30 days for free, unlimited access to our website that has almost 800 videos on it right now, including a new release coming up very soon from the one and only Kevin Van Dam. Okay, we spent some time filming up in Michigan with him, and that content is going to be released on the website very soon. So use code BULive30, join the program. It's going to help you catch more big bass. Now, if you're over on Facebook and you're just milling around over there and you insist on not coming over, that's all right.
Ooh.
We're still going to give you a prize. Like and share tonight's feed, and you'll be entered in to win a prize at the end of the show, okay? And while you do that, make sure you turn on your notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything that the Bass University has going on. Now, here's the real juice of why you want to be a Bass U TV subscriber. Use code BULive30 to get signed up right now, and you can enter yourself into a chance to win the grand prize at the end of the show, which will be about $100 worth of product from Bass University official gear, TH Marine, Rapala, erupt fishing, Rod Warrior sleeves, all kinds of good stuff is going to be in there. So enter yourself in to win that grand prize by using code BULive30 today and get 30 days for free of Bass U TV.
That was 5, by the way, Rich.
What?
You said prize 5 times. I'm just saying.
Ooh, man, I'm gonna be sore. We might need to divvy those out over the week.
That's a serious prize, gentlemen.
Well,
and we also, we've got for annual subscribers, we've got a really cool Tackle Warehouse coupon, a $25 shopping spree coupon for Tackle Warehouse if you decide to subscribe annually, and that also gets you into tonight's contest. So come on over to bassu.tv, and guys, you guys that are subscribers, don't forget, download the app. We've sent out a bunch of emails. A lot of you guys have taken advantage of it. I've gotten a lot of great feedback from it, and so I want you guys to go ahead and download the app whenever you guys can. You know what? You guys may not. I don't know if I told you guys this, but on the BFL tournament this weekend, I was paired up with Tim, who I apologize, Tim. I'm gonna find your name here, and I'm gonna give you a shout out. With Tim has been a 2-year subscriber to Bass University TV, and so that was really cool. Got paired up with him, and we talked about how he uses the product and how it's helped his fishing and
I heard about that.
Yeah. That's Epic great. Eric's buddy.
Yeah.
And both those guys are Bass
And the
TV
week
guys.
before, they crushed him, and he was on a big school of fish. And
I don't think it's a coincidence.
And Pete didn't want to go. The guy said, "Hey, I know something." And Pete, I'm not feeling it. Brushed it away.
Dude, by 10 o'clock, I was like, "You got anything to go to, man?"
So about that spot.
It's impossible to just be like, just kind of go this way. Go that direction.
No, I hear you.
Never works. It's a fucking giant flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a giant flat.
But we're gonna Brian, when are we gonna take the break?
We're gonna talk to Rich right now about this weekend's event.
Yeah, because we're talking about it, guys. And I saw some of the stuff come on Facebook. I saw so many Bass University subscribers. Everybody went out of their way to come by and say hi, and that was really awesome. It was great to see everybody, and of course our guy Rizz just had an absolute crushing victory, winning by over 8.5 pounds on the flats, which is just amazing. Huge win. I know we've said it a million times, but I'm saying it again. Congrats, Rizz. That was absolutely outstanding, buddy.
Thank you.
First off, he had an unbelievable year down there. So there used to be a thing, and Pete, maybe you know this. A long time ago, this is like before I even really fished. They used to do a thing down in the Upper Bay to where whoever won the most tournaments in that year, they used to call him Captain Chesapeake. And I think you won probably more than anybody this year. Wow. So I think you get the title for this year for Captain Chesapeake, which is dude, it's an honor. I'm telling you.
King of the Bay.
Yeah. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Pretty cool.
Right now, Keith Cowan just kicked his dog.
Well, it's all on paper, man.
Yeah.
When you wake up in the morning, do you still like just automatically smile and get that rush? You know, when you realize you actually did that.
No, to be honest, I wake up and wish I was going fishing again.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I got to upload a show this morning. I'd rather be on the boat, you know?
I get it. I after a win, it's like, for me, it's always that rush, you know, it's like, it's almost like you dreamed it, you know, and you wake up and you realize, oh man, that happened. That's pretty cool.
Right.
You know?
I mean, how it all worked out makes things seem pretty surreal, and like, you know, I really can't believe that it worked out the way it did, because, you know, not having a boat for a month, you know, my boat being in the glass shop, and literally I was not on the bay. I hadn't fished the bay in a month and a half. The one time I was there, I was running a camera boat for Mike, and they caught 2 fish. Like, they had a tough day, you know, so I had no time down there. And, you know, I was at my buddy Jim's house on Thursday night, and we were all just hanging out shooting the shit, and I'm sitting there just nervous wreck, looking at my phone every 5 minutes, waiting for it to ring from the fiberglass shop to tell me that the boat's done, you know. And he early in the day he said, oh, it'll be done around 6:30, and then 6:30 turned into 8, and then 8 turned into, like, I haven't heard from him, and I text him and say, you need me to bring you guys coffee. Like, I'm trying to keep in touch with him without being annoying, you know. And he's like, we're gonna get it done tonight. Finally, at like 10 o'clock, the phone rings, and he says, all right, it's done. You can come pick it up. So 10 o'clock at night, I drive to Prospect Park. His shop's right on Darby Creek. And I go pick the boat up, and now it's time to get it rigged, because everything had to come off of the boat from the bilge compartment because they replaced the whole transom, you know. So all my batteries were out. None of the wiring was done. So lucky enough, he stuck around the shop for long enough for me to get the batteries back in the bilge, and I just tested to make sure that the motor would start and that the trolling motor would turn on. I was like, all right, those are the 2 essentials, you know. The graphs, everything else, I can worry about that later. So they both turned on, and from there I went to Wawa, because they got real bright lights that shine down, and I parked in a closed off section, you know, and spent like the next 2 hours getting everything rigged in, wiring the graphs back in from front of the boat to back of the boat. I had to, you know, get everything hooked back up, and then it was time to go to the car wash to wash all the fiberglass shavings out of the boat, because I told him, I was like, look, don't worry about cleaning up, just get me my boat back as soon as you possibly can. So as soon as the guy left that was mounting the motor back on, he called me, and I came and picked it up and got the rigging. Well, you know, 3.5 hours later, it's 2:30 in the morning, and I want to go to the flats and practice the next day. So I get up at 4, you know, go down and find enough in one day to make this whole thing happen. And you know, I still can't believe it, you know. Like, it seems like it's been a blur, but luckily it worked out the way it did. So yeah. You know,
Rich, you know, all of us were fishing out on the flats, right? We were all trying to make it happen, but you did. Like, your weights were far in advance of some very skilled veterans, you know, out on the flats. You found something really special out there that produced and we, you know, while the flood tide scattered the fish that I was targeting. I mean, they seemed to vanish. In your area, they didn't. And I mean, they weren't heavy, I don't think, you know, based on what you were saying, but that area was special. Tell the guys a little bit about what was happening in that area.
Right. So just to rewind a little bit into my one day that I had to practice on Friday, there was pop-up thunderstorms down there pretty much the whole day from like 11 a.m. until dark. Every once in a while a thunderstorm would pop up that would have straight line winds, just get absolutely brutal. And I was running from storms literally all day, and at one point the weather got so bad that it pushed me back into the river, into the northeast, and I tied up. I went and stood under the awning at Naughty Goose to kind of let things pass and stay dry while my boat was getting filled up with water, tied up at the dock. And literally when that happened, I saw, no joke, 10 to 15, maybe if it was 10, 15, it was 20 boats, guys that were practicing for the BFL, pull their boats out of the water and go home. And that was at that was at maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock. And I'll be honest, I had that thought in my mind of like, maybe I should just, call it. I had found a little bit at that point. I didn't find much, but I was like, I got, one decent little spot. So I went back out again and ended up, late in the practice day, finding one area that really produced. And the way that I found it was, I had gone 5 hours or so on Friday without even getting a bite. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to run around a little bit, look at some stuff, look at different areas of the flat. And I came across this one area where I could see, and you guys know how on low tide out there, the heavily matted areas, it looks like a golf course. Just it looks like a putting green. There's so much grass. And I saw one area that had a big open pocket and had a real unique shape. It formed a complete horseshoe. And when I sat down off a pad, all I could hear was birds, just excited, just seagulls were just doing, making the noise that seagulls make. And they're all sitting on this mat, and they're all eating, and they're excited, and they're happy. And I was like, all right, so must be a little bit of bait here, And I got on, what looked to me like it would have been the best stretch, and I got two bites on that stretch, and I was like, all right, they're here. So I left that, and in the beginning of the practice day, I had found something that was kind of an off-the-wall pattern, backwater, not on the flat, that was pretty unique in the way how the fish were set up. So I felt confident that I would have that deal to myself, and I did for the most part of the tournament. And using those two things to bounce back and forth to get quality bites and also get bites just to get a limit was super key, because I had legitimate concerns going into both days that I might not come in with 5. It was fishing really tough. And having that secondary area off the flat that was kind of just in my back pocket, knowing I could go in there and get bites, for me, getting to those 5 bites, it changes my thought process. It settles me down because I'm not worried about coming in without a limit anymore. And that could be to a fault that I have too much pride, like that I don't want to ever not come in with a limit, even if it's not the 5 biggest fish. I just don't ever want to show up without 5. It's like I want to bring 5 to the scale. And when I get to that, I can recenter and refocus on, okay, now I got to get big bites. And luckily, both days, the rotation of flat, backwater, flat, it worked out the same way both days. Got 1 in the morning, filled out the limit in the backwater, went back out to the flat, and called out all the small ones that I caught in the backwater. And, it was, like I said, just very fortunate to find those 2 key areas and then, capitalize on it and get the bites and put most of them in the boat. I lost 1 fish each day, which thankfully didn't affect me too bad, but for the most part, I got like 8 or 9 bites both days, and I landed all but 1 on each day. So
it was interesting that you were saying about how the water seemed to be going in the opposite direction.
Yeah,
out on the flat. I'm guessing, that's what was bringing the bait and the predators in there. There was some some unique current out there.
Yeah. And it was crazy how this area laid out. It literally formed a runway with a horseshoe, like the grass horseshoed, and it was just a wall of grass on both sides. One side was a little bit more tapering, and the other side was a hard wall. And I mean, you guys know, fishing the flat, you can, depending on the areas that you are, you can predict what way that grass is going to be laying based on the tide. And both days, I'm like, why? Sometimes the wind can affect it and make the tide lay a certain way out there too. But both days, it was just laying the total opposite way of what I would expect it to do, based on tide and based on wind. And eventually, I put two and two together that, something was happening with the way the water was running, the way the current was flowing, that it was making a turn in this grass line. And, that seemed to be a key deal. I really don't know how to explain it, other than that I've never seen the grass lay a different direction than what I would expect it to out on the flat, and in this area it did. So,
yeah.
And the other thing was that, it's the only area I've seen on the bay this late in the year that still had legit green milfoil growing.
Special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys know what that deal is. If you find the good milfoil, there's good chance it's going to have fish on it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Nice, man.
That's pretty awesome that the milfoil was there, because I'd see occasional stalks. Like, the pattern that I was on was all about the hydrilla. I found an area on the flat that had hydrilla that was growing even at low tide down to 4 to 6 feet, and the water was clearer in that area, and it was really cool, and that the grass was growing that deep. And they were these clumpy hydrilla, would sparse out, and there are some, but milfoil was not, an occasional stalk is what was prevalent, and in most places on the bay, So
right.
that's a great area.
Yeah, it still had the true milfoil stalks, plumed out, green, and that was really one of the first things that when I came down off a pad in that area, I heard the birds, I saw the grass, and then I saw what kind of grass it was. And it didn't take long until, I got on an area, and I said to myself aloud that I was like, this is too right. It's got to have fish. I mean, my boat's in 6 feet of water, and I'm 10 feet from a just wall of grass that included milfoil. I was like, it's got to happen, and it did. And in practice, it showed me that there were some fish there. So I know how tough it can be this time of year. And then I left it alone. And then, tournament day, I went out and just put those casting rods to work, just went to slinging. I mean, I did not mess with any kind of finesse presentations, hardly at all. I mean, and this is a serious plug to casting. I mean, and it's an honest plug, and we'll queue up some of the videos later.
I thought it was an anti-dead sticking plug. But where are we going with this?
Maybe, but you can see how the rod performs. I mean,
he's taking a shot at you, Pete.
I was throwing a Cashin F90474B, which is it's a rod that Cashin actually initially designed to be a frog rod for open water frogging. But for me, the style that I fish, it works great for a spinnerbait, chatterbait, trap. Literally, I throw so much on it. And Bri has a
Which one
video.
you want me to run, bro?
This one's fine. Bri has a video queued up. This is day one. This is my first fish of the day. It's a 411 on day one, and you'll be able to see how that catches.
Yeah, I don't think our audio went through on the during the video play, but yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
but anyway, so
yep.
you know you guys could see how that rod performed, but yeah, big shout out to Cash and Paul Benson. He's always taking good care of me as far as making sure I got rods in my hand to get out there and do it. And between the chatterbait and the spinnerbait, there's probably not there's no bait that I feel like I have a better chance to catch fish in when it's in my hand than a chatterbait. And that's something that I've really kind of learned and expanded upon over the past couple years, and it really paid off this week.
The chatterbait.
Yep. So you were chatterbait fishing. What's your setup? What kind of reel, line, and how you rocking that chatterbait?
Okay, so the rod is a 7'4". It's a medium heavy fast action tip. Like I said, it's really parabolic. Bends all the way through. My reel is a Daiwa Tatula CT Type R. They actually don't make a CT Type R anymore, but I buy up those reels anytime I can find them. And then my line, which is something that I feel like it's key to the way I fish chatterbait. I fish it on 15-pound fluorocarbon all the time. I know some guys like heavier line. I know some guys like to throw it on braid. I like 15-pound Berkeley Trilene all the way. It's a system that works for me. And the chatterbait is a half ounce, whether I'm throwing it in 1 foot of water or if I'm throwing it in 10 feet of water. It's that's the weight that I'm throwing. And I just feel like it's a bait that you can manipulate and you can move and you can get it in front of the right kind of fish. And those big fish seem to eat chatterbaits, especially in the summer. They're eating bluegill, perch, whatever. And if you get creative with your colors, you can really match the hatch good. And once you find the action that they want, like Johnny Cruz says, colors the multiplier. Mm-hmm. You can double down on your bites by finding the right color combination.
Well, you certainly did it this weekend, man. That was an amazing win. I saw you picked up 4 G's.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Nice.
Hey, ladies.
That helps.
Yeah, it helps the cause. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's great stuff, man. And it was great. I got to see the video. It was a little delayed on my end, but I got to see that rod boat up, and I remember the conditions.
They had audio for the video, Pete or Brian.
Ours or just the videos?
The viewers had the videos.
The videos audio, but not ours.
Right.
Correct. So how about the DMs? Did they pick up?
The what?
The DMs.
Yeah, they picked up me sending them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it was a confidence builder is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I got you.
We're not paying with coffee. We're not paying for coffee and quarters this week.
I love it.
I remember the day in the video.
It
shows how dark and overcast it was, and that was the craziest day that on the flats ever, man. It was like pretty stout winds, but it was just a perfect fishing day for the fish not to be biting anywhere but for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, Pete, the flat thing only got right when the conditions got right. I mean, I got one out there in the morning first thing each day, but I think that was just a morning bite situation. But I needed to be out there on low tide and to really get those fish to fire. And I think that's where the backwater area really saved me, because I will admit I get spun out if I don't start putting something together early in the day. I'll start running around like an idiot, and I get in my own head. And being able to go into that other area and catch and fill out my limit, even if they're all tiny little babies that'll never do anything for you on the flats, for me it settles me down. Like I always want to get to 5, and once I get there, I can start to expand, because I feel like if I can get 5 bites, I can at that point have figured out a little bit of something to maybe build on it and maybe get a bigger fish to bite.
Well, that did, and that's what you needed, because the bites were incredibly difficult to sort of say, be able to be out on those flats at low tide, which is at the very end of the day. That's it's certainly what you needed to be.
Yeah.
And now we had conditions that were cloudy day one. Day two, opposite. Brilliant bluebird, not a cloud in the sky. Did you have to make any adjustments on day two?
So yes, I did, Pete. So in the morning, the situation was the same. Like I said, they sent us out at 6:15 on day two, so they got us out there early. So I got on my main stuff where it was still what I would consider to be lower light. So that helped. That got me a key bite first thing, second day. And then I actually got 2 bites on that area second day, and I lost the second one. But late in the day of day two, I did have to make an adjustment on my presentation. I switched over from a chat spinnerbait, and that spinnerbait bite really fired in the last hour of the tournament. I went from having about 10.5 pounds to almost 15 with 3 key fish on a spinnerbait late in the day, because the wind on day two, the wind was really, really chomping out of the northwest. My area was relatively protected, but still, when the wind blows hard, it blows. And the sun being high and the wind really, really, really going, switching over to that spinnerbait was it yielded in some quality fish that I was able to get rid of some little ones. And really the way I was fishing it was unique to me. It was the first time I had ever done it down there, being that I wasn't letting it get very far down in the grass at all. I'd sling it out, let it rest for a second, and then just start steady reeling. And that presentation, it did something to the fish to make them go crazy, because when they bit it, I mean, it knocked slack into the line, like a 2-step back kind of hook set, because there was that much coming at you. So that was really the big adjustment was day two, late in the day. I wasn't able to make them fire on a chatterbait. I had to switch over to that spinnerbait. But the sun and wind, it's tough to beat a spinnerbait.
Well, that was a hell of an adjustment. Not that you needed it, because I suspect you may have had the tournament won in your first 2 or 3 bites of the day.
I may have, Pete, but I in my own head, I did not rest until I got rid of all my small ones. I didn't want to leave the door open even one bit. It was I've only fished a few 2-day tournaments. They've actually both been on the canal, and both of those tournaments I've actually the one I was in the lead, and then the second I was in third. And both of those tournaments, day two I fell off and kind of ate it, and I didn't want to feel that feeling again. I wanted this one bad. It's really the first individual event that really had some stipulation to it that I've won. Like I said, it was my first PFL ever, so I didn't want to. I didn't want to leave even a tiny bit of doubt. So
awesome. Well, it's really cool to interview you, Rizz. It's great. One of our guys really busted a good one. I was excited for you after day one. It was cool. We got to visit after the weigh-in, and you had to go to the tackle store. Did you sleep on that night before day two?
I did not sleep very good, Pete. I did go to Dick's Sporting Goods, and they had what I needed, so that was awesome. That was cool. Yep. But I did not sleep very good the night before day two. But I was dreaming about fishing, so I mean it's not really that bad, I guess.
That's cool. I can tell you, usually I do pretty good when I don't sleep, because I don't know, I feel like you're going to catch them,
Yeah.
So I know if I get 0 sleep the night before, it's going to be a good day. And it certainly was for you. And, congrats again on a great win. And thank you. Thanks for sharing the deets with the folks at Bass U. I'm sure they appreciate it. And shout out to Cash and Fishing Rods. By the way, all you subscribers, go check out. You've got a great deal. with Cash and Fishing Rods and your pro members offers, they'll ship all your fishing rods for free. So so go check that out. And we've got a lot of other great offers over there with the Rapala VIP and a lot of other great opportunities for all members of BassU.TV. BTC, do you want to take a quick break, or you want to go right into our
I got
guest?
something for us here, Peter.
What do you got?
All right, I got a BassU battle for the three of yous.
Okay.
You Chesapeake Bay guys.
Uh-oh.
All right, this comes from our professional fish head,
BassU
Justin
battle.
Kimmel. Are you ready, Pete?
Are you judging this,
I am.
Brian?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And you're already 2 points behind, Pete. It's not looking good, but
My answer is a Cinco, so let's move on.
That's what he said.
I know your answer. All right, the season is the fall. You're on the Chesapeake Bay. You happen to catch a fish in practice and find out the needlefish are here. And the bass are hyper-focused on that one specific bait fish. How and where are you going to catch the winning bag of bass come tournament day? Focusing on the noodlefish.
He's going to say a Senko.
Pete, you're first.
I'll be straight up with you guys. I came at this tournament and there's needlefish all over my area, and I was going hard. I was going to win this tournament on a topwater and a swim jig. That's how I was going to attack it. And the needlefish, I love fishing topwaters, and I'm talking about hard baits. You know, a Rapala top walker. You know, a popper style bait. That's what I was going to go after them with. When it gets tough, and out there on the flats this time of year, I have saved the day so many times with topwater because it takes them out of that funk that they get into when you can't trigger them on a chatterbait or a spinnerbait. So that's what I was experiencing, and I thought with those conditions, I was all over it, man. That cloud, I knew that I was going to have a good tournament, but unfortunately, the area that I was fishing, it just with the big tide, it scattered them. But that's not the answer to the question. If I had to go out fishing on day 2 of this tournament or any other day, needlefish around, topwater is what I'm using.
Okay. All right. Greg.
I'm going to go with kind of the same answer. I'm going topwater. I'm going to throw a buzz bait. I'm taking the skirt off, and I'm putting on a swim bait because I've done this out there in the fall so many times and have caught major bags doing it. And I'm going to more likely be on the north end of the flat.
What color?
Black.
Okay. Champ.
The champ?
I'm,
He's going to the southwest corner.
No,
He's going to his spinnerbait.
to be totally honest, I'm not even paying attention to that area. I've never had success with the needlefish thing. It's not something that's in my wheelhouse as far as confidence goes. I'm gonna go look for something else. I mean, that's
going to live line a needlefish.
yeah. I mean, no, but I mean, if the question is that I had to fish only in that area, I mean, I would have to throw
the winning fish are there.
I would have to throw something on top like a speed worm and try and match the color as good as possible. If it's not a speed worm, it's gonna be maybe just a regular weighted swim bait hook with a swim bait.
Captain Chesapeake.
Captain Chesapeake crushed
Well,
it.
that's
Justin
not getting
Kimmel
out of
said
control.
speed worm is the answer. And I know from talking to Mike, he throws a Mullock's swim
Rashad,
bait.
yeah.
an R.A. Rashad.
Yeah.
One of them Rashads.
Yeah.
R.A. Shad from Mullock's.
Like when you're hot, man.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Boy, Rizz just keeps on winning.
That's it.
King of the Bay. All right, man, let's hit a commercial break. I see our guests are in the queue. You guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Come right back with Brandon Cobb and Clent Davis.
Forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together, the One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Tackle Warehouse is proud to sponsor the FLW Pro Circuit and is the official tackle retailer of FLW, providing proven bass fishing gear as well as the newest and hottest tackle. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service staff can help you every step of the way. And we offer free ground shipping on orders over $50. Tackle Warehouse. Everything for the bass angler at the lowest prices. Guaranteed.
I have to be constantly on the lookout for new techniques to stay on the top of my game.
Giant.
Some have been more successful than others.
Giant.
The finesse fingernail.
Happens every time.
The chain gang.
Broke it off.
The crow's nest.
Never let go.
And don't even get me started on tackle management, especially trying to stop rust and corrosion. Peanut butter.
Not good.
Motor oil.
Gotta keep the rust off all these baits.
WD-40.
Gotta keep the rust off.
Silica, toothpicks, Q-tips, the list goes on and on. I'm hard on tackle, I fish fast, I need my tackle organized and protected. I can't be worrying about losing baits to rust. And when it comes to tackle management, there's only one solution. Flambeau Tackle Storage Systems with Z-Rust technology. The original anti-rust tackle box. Uncompromised clarity. Renowned durability. The infused anti-rust option that is FDA safe and free of harmful chemicals. The organization options are endless, but there's only one. One box, one anti-corrosion technology, one family-owned, American-made brand, Flambeau Z-Rust Tackle Solutions. Preserve, perform, repeat.
Everybody, welcome back to Bass University Live. We have an amazing show. We just recapped Rizz's amazing win, and can't do that enough times. I hope we get a few more trophies in-house. We certainly have the tools and the talent in-house to get it done. So that was a lot of fun. If you missed it, go back and listen to the rebroadcast. And we're talking about brush piles tonight. Guys, everybody's fishing them. The electronics we have today, you can see them. But boy, there's a strategy to it. It's not just as simple as identifying them. There's all kinds of specifics. Where, if you're going to cut them down, what kind of wood are you using? If you're in herring lakes, what kind of brush piles work in those types of areas versus other bodies of water, whether it's a river, tidal river, or reservoir or any other lakes. We saw brush piles win down in Florida, even though it's illegal to plant brush piles in Florida. And it may be illegal in the state where you live. But brush piles are a big deal. What kind of wood that you're going to use. There's so many things. So we've got two really great anglers that have a lot of experience in this area, and they're with us tonight, and we're awful happy to have them for the first time on our show. I'm excited to have him. He's a FLW championship winner, former Rookie of the Year over there, now an Elite Series competitor. We have Clent Davis. Good to have you on the show, buddy.
Hey, happy to be here.
It's awesome. I watched some highlights of your big win in the FLW, and man, it was reminiscent of another guy that we know really well, Ike and Ellie. When you catch a fish, man, you go nuts.
Well, maybe that one a little more than most. A few more dollars on the line.
yeah, $300,000 more dollars on the line. So, hey, man, it's great to have you on the show. And we've also have a guy that we've had on the show before, and we love having him on the show. 2-time Elite Series champ, had a stellar FLW career before he came over to the Elites. Great to have you, Brandon. How are you tonight, man?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. I'm ready to talk some brush piles.
Yeah, brush piles. You guys live in the area. You live in Alabama. Where are you? Are you South Carolina, Brandon?
South Carolina, upstate South Carolina.
Yep. You two live in the brush pile capitals of the world.
Absolutely.
Well, we all fish them. They're huge bass magnets. and they're all over the country. But one thing that, you know, do you guys spend a lot of time cutting and planting brush piles? How do you guys do that?
Go ahead, Cobb.
So I'm that guy that everybody gets mad at because he finds their brush piles. I have put out brush before, but I don't put a ton out anymore. I've got buddies that I've been with putting some out and stuff, but I don't fish around here, I guess, enough to spend the time putting them out anymore. But I have before. That I know the types and I know the applications to where to put what, but I don't do it a lot myself. I think Clent does.
Yeah, you know, I used to, same deal, a whole lot more. I've actually, if I could walk you out to my backyard here by the shop, I've got a whole pile of cedar trees and oaks that I made up when COVID hit. I was like, heck, I'm going to go put these out and fish a bunch of local derbies and catch a lot of crappie out of them as well. And then, you know, all of a sudden the schedule pops back out. So, yeah, they're all sitting in the backyard here by the shop that, yeah, they're wasting away now. I never got to put them out. We had, you know, thank God we started back fishing.
Well, that's what. Now I know we got Greg DePalma in studio, another Elite Series angler. Greg, do you engage in brush pile planting?
Yeah, I've definitely planted a few.
Locally?
Locally, yes.
Nice.
I was always told a long time ago, and Clent, we can cross references with you, but somebody told me a long time ago when I was planting brush piles, and the guy that told me is pretty good at it too, I think. He told me, and I know you just said you kind of grew your own in your backyard, but he always told me if you're going to plant them, try to find stuff already established. You know, go out there, get it, and move it, whether it's a log or maybe somebody else's brush pile, whatever it is. Does that sound true or no?
Man, so craziest thing, Cobb, did you ever fish the Cup on Lanier in Georgia?
No, I've never have. I fished Lanier, but not the Cup.
So those guys, I'm not saying any names. It was my rookie year, 2012, Lake Lanier. And the brush piles kept growing feet every day and moving. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, I all around, like throwing, like I know I was catching bass here yesterday and not feeling anything, yet all over it. The brush pile's gone. You go all around 50 yards off, the brush pile's moved. Somebody in the tournament was getting somebody else, I guess. I don't even know what the rules were then, not that it matters, but yeah, they were going out and it might have just been mad locals. They were going out in the middle of the afternoon after we had finished fishing and taking a big hook to it and dragging them off. No, the only reason why I knew this because I became friends with a guy, Jason Johnson, over there a couple of years later, and he was telling me, yeah, you know, they were moving the piles during the tournament. So, yeah, already established, and I guess the fish went right with it if you knew where they were.
Wow, that's pretty. That's pretty cutthroat.
That's dirty.
One thing I know from like fishing brush around here a lot, we got like different types of brush. I mean, you got your cane pile, like topwater brush, like he's talking about at Lanier. But then we got one like here is like deep worm fishing brush, you know, crankbait worm fishing. And the piles, when you put them out, they're really good when they're green for about 2-3 weeks, maybe even a month. And then once they start dying, they're no good anymore. I mean, they're still good, but they're not what they were. And you actually sink green limbs back on old piles to get the leaves back. And when you pull up on a pile and you're catching leaves, you're like, oh, this is it. And you usually catch them.
What about hardwood? Like, is it the same? Would you say it's the same for like hardwoods, like whether it's pine or whether it's oak or?
Well, so most of the piles that I've put out and fished, because I've caught leaves like crazy on this specific like deep brush pile fishing lake, is all sweet gum. That's what 90% of the leaves you catch are sweet gum. But some of the piles I've put out personally, I know oak takes less to hold it down. Like water oak, for instance, will almost sink without a brick. It's not very buoyant, so it stays easy. But most of the piles that guys put out on the biggest brush pile fishing lake around here, I know, is all sweet gum, and green is where it's at. If it's not green, you catch some, but when it's green is when you really, really catch them.
Interesting.
So the strategy is once that. I mean, do you do that? Well, you guys don't do that, but
no, we don't.
Why not? Is it legal in the tournament to go cut down some limbs and drop fresh green on top of those piles? At practice?
I'm going to say it's illegal, but I'm not sure because I've never done it in a tournament.
I don't know because I've never done it, but I actually know it's illegal during official practice. Now, as far as a month before, I couldn't tell you. I've never done it. I'm not real sure, but I know it's illegal during official practice.
It's called trip.
Yeah, get Trip on.
We've tried to get him on before. Trip doesn't come on. We're too controversial.
Yeah, going back to what Cobb is saying about green piles, no matter where I go, that you have brush pile lakes, say Eufaula. I've been fishing there since I was in high school. And man, like the best piles, like guys will put piles out everywhere, but there's only certain ones that for some reason are what I call the juice. And you'll know, like little hot tip here for a lot of people that don't fish brush piles, I guess. You'll know if it's a good brush pile as well, not only what Cobb's saying with it green, but you'll see a lot of old dead brush around it, and it's been greened back up right at the juice because year after year, somebody has went and consistently put fresh green brush on it because they're always catching good fish out of it.
I had a question for you then. So, can any of you guys verify? Can you see the difference on like your down imaging when you go over top of one of these, or no?
Yes,
you can.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you can see the leaves. Yeah, it almost looks like a bait ball on the brush because you can see all the leaves. Like, yeah, you can't say like, oh, there's a leaf, but it just looks like a huge cloud rather than like, you know how you'll see limbs or a tree on down scan. It looks like a big poof, like a big cloud. Yeah, you can see them pretty well on when they're green anyway.
Yeah, I would say the one thing that I'm not really good at, honestly, is fishing. Like when we were at Eufaula, I didn't concentrate on the brush at all because it's not that I didn't know what I was looking for. I just didn't know which one was better because there was so much of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, it goes along with that too. Too much brush can be bad too. Like that's one thing. Like, so I didn't put these brush piles out, but I have a lot of places on some deep fishing lakes around here that are like, for 10 years I've caught them there every year. You know that type place you got deep. You're like, well, come June they're gonna be here, and then somebody sank a bunch of brush on it, and it hadn't been good since.
Wow.
I've got quite a few places like that, so I don't know. Like when it comes to brush piles, I don't think that you sink a brush pile in a good place is better. But I think if it's a good place, it's a good place, but you can ruin it too with brush by that other factor.
Huh.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
You
got where you plant stuff is key.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So what Cobb was saying. So when I was a kid, Lay Lake had very little amount of brush on it, and today, like, it's amazing. All the kids in high school fishing, college fishing, and I guess they've got a whole lot more money than me, and they go buy these big pontoon barges and literally go sink it everywhere. But like hard spots that I used to have on Lay Lake that had no brush that held fish, like schools of fish, now there's so much brush on those spots that they hold a couple of fish. Yeah, there will be good ones, but there's only a handful there. Whereas it seems like the big schools of fish like plain nothing hard spots. You don't need brush.
Right. So you can ruin a spot. That's critical. Where do you target? I mean, it's got to be frustrating if you're planting brush piles, and I got to imagine you plant 10 brush piles. If you're lucky, one or two of them is going to actually ever generate results for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like, when it comes to brush, I mean, whether it's brush I put out or if I'm looking for brush somebody else has, I like really desolate, like flat, nothing areas. Like Eufaula is a prime example of that. Some of the best piles I have, there was no significant depth change for, 100, 200 yards. And there was no trees, no other brush, nothing, just nothingness. Yeah. And that one pile was some of the best place. And when it comes to that, I've always thought like when you're putting brush out, and some of the best ones I've found from other guys. So, most people, they look at their Navionics card, whatever, on their Lowrance, and they go drop them on like a drop or like some kind of topographic feature on the lake. Well, everybody when they're graphing looks at that. That's like where you go idle a point. What do? You put your boat in 16 to 18 foot and idle around the topography. Well, if you get on a flat that's a half a mile long and a mile wide, that's all 15 foot deep, and you put one brush pile in the middle, that's like a needle in a haystack. Half as many people are going to find that. and it turns out to be better usually.
There you go. All your good spots, keep the brush off of them.
That's right.
Used to, it wasn't like that. Used to, you could set it off to the side of a ditch or a point or whatever. And exactly what Cobb said. Nowadays, everybody's so good with their electronics. The electronics are so good that the best brush piles are in the middle of nowhere.
Clent, wait, if you, I want to plant a brush pile. Like, how do I make one? Like like Brandon talked about, oak trees, they sink themselves. What about like the ones that don't? How do you actually wrap them up? What do you weight them with? And how do you do that?
I mean, it depends on how much work you want to put into it. If you just want to put a easy brush pile out, take the sawzall to the lake, make sure you can cut the tree off of that bank. That's one big thing you get into. I guess go at night when no one's looking. But you can just take the sawzall and cut some little 8-10 foot cedars, oaks, whatever you want to. Cobb says sweet gums. I mean, I don't think it matters. I think if it's green, it's to me cedars are my favorite and oak. But I think any of it works. But yeah, take a block, tie it up with blocks, make sure it sinks. And another thing I have learned from fishing all over the country, brush pile lakes. So it seems like if you go to these spotted bass lakes, they want it vertical. So if you can put, you can get a 20-foot brush pile and put it out in 40, there's going to be spotted bass around it. But largemouth, more than anything, they're just old junk fish, I guess you could say. They're like channel cats, whatever you want to say. You can just go throw it anywhere out there, and they're coming to it. Spotted bass, they're more on the humps and the points, but the largemouth, it doesn't matter. You go pile up the brush, get it to sink, they're going to be in it as long as it's green. The bait comes to it.
Right.
I will say that. So the way I plant brush piles, the way we do it is we get 5-gallon buckets, Quick Creek. You better have some buddies that get 5 gallon unless you just want to spend a lot of money because 5-gallon buckets get expensive. But yeah, 5-gallon buckets, Quick Creek, cedars, and I actually put them in there and concrete them and tie a little bottle to the top so it'll stand up vertical. We take them out on pontoons. So it's a pain putting it in the boat.
I've got a funny story about putting out the spotted bass piles, as you were talking about a while ago. Spotted bass, like cane piles, are big around here. You think bamboo to stand up, but they're topwater over. Well, when you're fishing a cane pile, bamboo pile, number one, when you put them out, you've got to put them out like within 24 hours of cutting them because it's like grass. It dies and wilts and goes away. But so when you put a cane pile out, like 18 feet to 20 feet is generally the depth you put it. And the reason that being is because a cane pile generally has to be within 8 foot of the surface to be able to call fish out of it on topwater. We're talking on like a Heron Lake, Hartwell, Clarksville, Murray, Lanier, all those. Well, I had the great idea. It's like, everybody puts a 16-foot tall cane pile in 22, 24 foot. I'm going to make a 60-foot tall cane pile in 70 foot, and this can be the greatest one ever invented. So I tried this. I went and cut a bunch of bamboo, and I cut all the tops off all of them and put PVC couplers between them. And I put a huge weight at the bottom, and I'd lower it down 20 feet and then put some screws in, hook another piece of bamboo, and lower it down 20 feet, put some screws in, and another piece of bamboo. And then I put a big poofy piece of bamboo at the top, and it looked perfect on the side scan, and I never caught a bass out of it. And it was the most work I've ever put into a brush.
I got a similar story, Brandon. I tried to plant brush at one of my local lakes. Newton. And
2 feet of water.
Yeah, and I spent a whole bunch of time. I put a Christmas tree on a pallet. I got like a lawn chair. I duct taped it all together. I've never planted a brush pile, and I take it out to the lake, and I had a couple bricks on the corners. I was like, I'll sink that thing, no problem, right? Yeah, we're good money. And it floated right back up to the top, and that was all she wrote. I tried to weigh it down with some rocks off the bank. Eventually, got it to go back down. Put a mark on it. I could see it on my 360. The whole deal. Yeah, I went back a week later. It floated away. So, moral of the story is make sure you got enough weight. Bring some extra bricks.
It
takes
a lot.
more than you think it does.
Yeah, it takes a lot.
Generally, it takes more.
Have you guys have any experience in current situations? Because I fish a lot of current based stuff, and I've kind of I tried dragging stuff off the bank and had some success getting it off the bank, but then it gets out in the current, man, and forget about it. It's gone. It just doesn't last there.
Yeah, none of our lakes around here, we don't have like the power generation type lakes that, move water daily and all that. We don't really have enough current where it's even something you got to think about on anywhere that I've ever really fished brush or put brush out.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
So it's not really a factor around here.
Now you talk about moving stuff, Clent. I know I've talked with some guys that they're real radical with it. They'll take trees that they're using on river systems and if maybe it's perpendicular to the river current and they're not catching them on it, they'll make them and spin them so they're parallel to the river current and rotate them like during the day and come back and fish them and catch fish off of them.
That's wild. That's crazy. Yeah, here at the house, we put them in the creeks, man. I had some buddies, my neighbors here 2 years ago. They were planting crappie piles. Like, yeah, we're gonna put them on these high spots out in the main lake and stuff. And it was February, early, right before all the rains come. I was like, y'all better put some weight on them. Same deal. Showed up, and there's not a single brush pile left. So we put them all in the creeks.
Oh man, there's an art to it, and Rizz, I want to open this up to some questions from the Bass University group. Guys, if we use your question on the air, we're going to hook you up with some really cool Bass University swag. Do you have any questions in the queue for the guys, Rich?
I absolutely do, Pete. The first question comes from Grattan Fishing, and he wants to know, do you find that fish will relate better to certain types of brush piles? And if so, how do you identify them on your graphs?
Yeah, I'll go with that. So I think they definitely do. So as Clent said, you got to look at what you're targeting on the lake. Like if it's largemouth, it's almost always number one. You're looking for green, like we talked about earlier, fresh green, and they also like big logs, like kind of broad brush areas rather than a pile. Almost always has some largemouth on it. And that's generally because it's been a good spot year after year and people have put it out. And then when you're talking spotted bass lakes, you're talking tall stuff that the fish can suspend in because spots like to look up. They like to feed near the surface of the water. And that's just the best feeding situation for them. It's like a tall, kind of narrow, like whether it's bamboo, it doesn't even have to be bamboo, just kind of a tall stand-up structure. Like, everybody here fishing's call a lot of spots off like bridge poles and things like that. They like vertical structure. So kind of look at what I'm targeting, and that's how I kind of look for what I think will be the best piles. And if they're good piles, you can see the fish in them on your electronics. When I'm out on them with my down scan on my Lowrance, a largemouth pile, you're kind of graphing them like it's a Tennessee River ledge school. You'll generally start seeing the fish, 10, 15 yards before the pile, and they'll be scattered out all the way across the pile and not on top of each other generally. They're usually like one by one across the bottom, or if there's not many, there'll be two or three just really close in the pile. And then the spots, you'll actually see them suspended in the top of the piles.
What's your experience, Clent?
Everything he just said, that's what I was going to say. Man, I draft them. I know when it's a good pile because I see them laying around. And I'm not saying you're not going to run your boat over it and not see a bass and turn around and not catch it, but you see the fish leading up to the piles, especially on a sunny day. If you get a cloudy day, they'll tend to suspend more, and you don't see them at all. And you just know, hey, I've caught them here before, and kind of have to fan cast around. But definitely on a bright sunny day, you're going to see them on your for me, my Lowrances, but long before I ever get to them.
For you guys watching this, I was preparing for the show. I watched your interview post FLW championship, and you show us this exact thing that you're talking about, where you're identifying what's probably crappie in the top of a brush, and then clearly the bass markings in brush. So that was pretty incredible. It's exactly what you just said.
Yeah, our electronics are so good these days. They can't hide, man. Maybe one of them hides up in the brush, but if there's a few there to be caught, you're going to see them.
That's awesome. Rich, who asked that question?
That was Grattan Fishing, and congratulations, Grattan Fishing. You won yourself a pack of VMC Tokyo rigs and some soft plastics. So that's you can go out and use them on a brush pile, catch some fish.
Awesome.
Can you catch them out of a brush pile? I've never even used a Tokyo rig before.
I hadn't either.
I've got to catch up with the times because I know some guys that are catching them on it.
It's definitely a bait that gets a bite. Yeah.
It's definitely a bait Rich never threw either.
Yeah, for sure.
If they put a blade on the front of it, he might try it.
I kind of got a question for you guys, and I'm not sure if this is a myth or not. So somebody once told me that during the spawn on a clear body of water, they can see fish actually spawning like on top of standing brush piles. Have you guys ever experienced that?
I've never seen it on brush piles, but we've got a lake with standing timber, and they spawn like during the spawn. Often I look for forky oaks, like it's got visible timber, not like underwater. Both largemouth and spots, and they'll spawn in like the V's of like the bigger, like anything that's broad enough for them to spawn on. You know what I mean? And like forky oaks, the top of a big round oak, they'll spawn. I've caught them off bed in 45 foot of water, 3 foot below surface on top of a.
That's awesome.
That's freaking awesome. What are you throwing at those fish?
They bite anything because you know exactly where their bed is. It's not the guesswork like when they're on the bank, because you're like, well, there's a top of a tree. His bed is right there. Yeah. It's a little bit easier.
That's not a myth. That's true.
Cool. I've actually seen them out on the river around here, spawning on floating logs. That part of the log's floating and it dips down below the surface, maybe a foot or two part of the log, and they'll put their bed right there.
That's right.
That bed will float around the back of a pocket.
Yeah.
I've always wondered if that's a biologist would probably have to answer this, but I've always wondered if that's a successful spawn, if that can actually work.
And why not? Why not? And why not? I mean, so long as it's getting the sunlight penetration, I mean, why wouldn't it be successful?
I just got a text. I just got a text from my buddies who's got a question for you guys, and it says, "Do you guys ever use cameras to look down at brush piles?"
So
never have.
I don't. I will in the future. Gussie makes a living off of that thing. I've heard so many stories. I watched all Lanier, a lot of the places we've been. Gussie, like, yeah, Bob, I dropped the camera down. There's like 5 big ones laying in the pile. So I will have a camera starting the 2021 season. Yes, cameras are great.
Yes.
Wow.
I've seen the footage too, man. Grow always posts stuff too. He's got one. Same thing, man. It's amazing what they're looking at.
Huh.
I can't imagine. I've seen some of that footage too, but I wonder, I guess if they're there, you just fish for them. But, there's got to be times when you can identify those big fish and they're just not active. But I guess it's better to be fishing around where there's fish than
no fish
in piles that don't have fish.
Most certainly.
So like all the brush pile stuff for you guys. Let's say, for example, let's use Eufaula. So you guys located some, fish that were in brush piles. How much were them fish moving brush pile to brush pile, or were they staying for, 1, 2, 3 days, whatever it was?
I don't think they. I think like Eufaula, a lot of the brush was shallower. I think they almost use them as feeding places.
Okay.
I think they kind of roam around because I had like bite windows when they bite there, and they were shallower there, so you couldn't really graph them. It wasn't like we were talking about earlier. Like if you did graph them, you spooked them off for the most part. But I think a lot of brush is actually like their feeding place. I think they kind of roam around or maybe go out deeper or whatever, and when they're up on the brush, they're feeding.
So you think more current driven, you're saying, or no?
It could have been. I like they definitely used the current to feed there, and I think the fish feed on those flats, and the brush gave them an ambush point on those flats when they wanted to feed.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think the brush is a feeding area. more or less, especially he's talking about Eufaula, and I know that from Lanier. They pull up in there and feed, and both of those lakes there have a lot of standing timber out behind them, and I do think a lot of them come and go, just feeding the brush, eating bluegill, crawfish, whatever is there, and disappear. And, you know, the baits you throw in there is a big deal too. Cobb, heck, you had a top 10 there, and I got real hard-headed at that event and was only throwing a big worm when I always throw a swim bait and a jig, and I was actually fishing a lot of the same brush that Buddy won in, and it was a bait deal. The fish were there. They just weren't biting for me, and he was smoking them. So, yeah, like anything else in fishing, we all fish. The bait you put in that pile is a big deal.
What I saw you talk about the type of weights, like you were using a big worm, and were you using a knucklehead or a swing head to get through the brush and versus a regular Texas rig?
Yeah, I always throw a swing head on soft plastics and brushes. Man, you like swing heads, you can't get them hung in brush. I mean, that's the greatest invention ever. Yeah. I mean, I would never throw a Texas rig again in brush.
No kidding. Like the football style swing head?
Yes. It comes right through it. As long as your hook doesn't come through your plastics, you'll never get hung.
No kidding. What are your top baits throwing at the brush, Brandon?
So I throw a big worm, like a Zoom Old Monster, Zoom Mag U-tail is what I call them out of Eufaula. But I actually throw it on a big shaky head, which gets hung almost every other cast. If you work it too fast, I just feel like they bite it better. And then at Eufaula, I always like to throw a crankbait in brush too. And at Eufaula, I call all mine on the Yozuri 3DS deep runner crankbait. It's got like a coffin lip, comes through a little bit better than other crankbaits. But I feel like when you're talking brush, really you're talking a worm. And I'm not saying there's not other baits, but I always throw a worm of some type and a crankbait of some type. That's always my two go-to brush baits at any lake. I mean, really, other than now, blueback herring lakes, completely different because then all you need is a top water because they always look up. But we're just typical brush pile fishing,
right?
A big worm and a crankbait.
A big worm and a crankbait. Is that similar to you too, Clent?
It is. Honestly, a swim bait's my favorite thing to throw over them. But yes, the big worm and the crankbait are 2 and 3, and top water, same as Cobb said here at the house. I never get to fish major tournaments here, but man, I smoke them on a Yozuri pencil. Same deal. So walking bait. That's probably the first one I throw, man. It usually gets the biggest, baddest fish in the brush pile to come up and eat it.
All right. Well, guys, the question lines are open. Let's throw some more at them, Rich. I think I may have stolen some questions from our subscribers, but what do you have in the queue?
Yep, NJ Dale Jr. wants to know how long does it take from the time that you put a brush pile down until you can go catch fish off of that brush pile?
Wow, great question.
Cobb probably said the same thing. You put it out at midnight that night at 6 a.m. that next morning. If there's a bass in the area and it's green, chances are if you bluegill or shad swim over there, you can catch them out of it.
That quick.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, we put out some on a lake around here one time, and we dropped them all, and then went back and threw at the first one to see if we could fill it, and we caught one in it.
Wow!
So a couple hours. I mean, I'm not saying that you want to I got a tournament tomorrow, let's go put some brush out. That's not what you want to do, but I do think some fish will move to it in a couple hours.
Man, that's surprisingly quick. It's weird because that's a great myth. That I always had was that the live stuff rots. And let me ask you that. I guess there's got to be a period when that live leaf stuff starts rotting and it's a negative, right? Is that the case?
Yeah, I think so. Because where the lake where I was talking about, the green ones are so good, and lakes I fish with the green ones, it does seem like there is a point to where the green is really, really good, but then it's worse than the old ones. Right. And I think that's because it does start to die, and it starts like when the leaves look like mushy, you're pulling them off. I've never caught any out of those, or many out of those, but when they're green, they're good. And then after that, it's more you got to look for some old stuff that's been there for years, you know.
Right. It's a great question, Rizz. What else do we have?
We have a question from Team No Fish, and Team No Fish wants to know, have you ever used exclusively cinder blocks for your brush piles?
Just the blocks themselves, just
Yes.
like making rock piles. Have you guys done that?
I never have. I know some guys that have. I've never done that. Seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, I know my buddy, hopefully they won't mind me saying this. This has been forever ago. My buddy Russ Lane and Chris Rutland evidently hauled like a whole pontoon boat full of blocks out to this little place on Lake Jordan, and evidently they caught them on them for years and years and years, and finally it silted in so much they don't exist anymore. But yeah, if you want to spend the time and spend $1,000 on cinder blocks and go put them out somewhere, I promise you fish you get around them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I've seen cinder block piles around from time to time. You know, one of my favorite brush piles that I like to pirate is tires.
We got a bunch of tires here.
Is that right? Yeah. Like they put them in triangles or like little pyramids, or one tire floating up by itself. That is amazing fish holding habitat.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of those, and they are good. I like them shallower. Which you're probably talking. You fish a lot of shallower water, right? Like you're talking.
Well, yeah. Like I'm thinking like lakes in Tennessee. I think Old Hickory.
Okay.
I was on a tire pattern down there one
A
time.
lot of Texas lakes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But shallower, like you said, I've never really. But see, you know, we didn't have the electronics like back then. I wonder if there's tire reefs deep that, you know, but you could see a tire now with what we have. And
I've got some cool pictures on my graph of, you can see all the little circles, a bunch of tires out there. And I catch some fish off of them for sure.
Yeah. That's amazing type of habitat. Here in New Jersey, it's shopping carts.
Yeah, shopping carts, traffic cones, dead bodies. It's more naturally occurring stuff.
Fish are used to it.
Yeah.
You know, another deal, talking about sinking brush piles, we fished, and I don't get to go there much anymore. I just knew that was the deal. Smith Lake, guys will actually drop brush piles off of floating boat docks, and, suspend them down. And so, yeah, that was the deal there. It was a great tournament. And I just ran around looking for sunken brush piles off the sides of boat docks.
I've seen that before too. Clent.
Extended over 100 foot.
Yeah, the docks are super deep, the banks are deep, and they. I guess that's an effective pattern, right? Why not? You know.
Yeah. Yep. Tie them off and let them just sit there and float. I mean, it's a spotted bass. Like you'll catch the occasional largemouth, but the big spots love it.
Wow. Man, there's so many sneaky ways to plant brush, you know. Yes. But it's so interesting, you know, that like I know guys that go out of their way and they'll the months before an event and they start cutting brush, planting brush, getting things ready. But you guys both have kind of adopted the strategy that, man, it's just more effective to go out and pirate somebody else's brush.
It's bad, but it happens.
Yep.
Has anybody ever come over and given you grief saying, "Hey, that's my brush pile"? You know.
They have. When I used to fish around here more, yeah. I know one time it was actually one of my buddies. He put out 14, and I found 12 of them the next day, without him telling me where they were. So when you sink them in 18 foot, it's kind of easy to find them.
Predictable.
Right? Oh my God! It took him a month to find them.
So what's the process for you know, deciding where you want to plant, location wise on particular bodies of water? What makes one area better than another?
Like section of the lake?
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah.
My rule of thumb is like when I'm fishing brush in a lake, I always think the closer you are towards the upper end, the shallower you want it, and towards the lower end, the deeper you're able to get away with. Like on every lake, it seems like generally you're fish towards the river. I'm just most lakes I go to, you're talking less than 10. And as you get down to the dam, I mean, you're talking to 20 or even out to 40 on some lakes, depending on where the thermocline is or how much water movement's through it.
Yeah, 100% what he said. There's no ifs, ands, buts. Exactly what he said.
All right, you're a brush pile planter, and you're getting ready for a tournament. You're putting your brush down. How do you hide them? Is there any way to any strategy behind camouflaging your brush pile?
Impossible with sonar these days. I will say, and talking about spotted bass lakes earlier, like, you know, guys graphing, usually they're going to look to that 15 to 25 foot range. A little sneaky deal on the spotted bass lakes. Like I said, you might get some largemouth out there, but get your brush pile out, and on that point there, get your brush pile out in 40, but get it floating up in the 20. So they don't tend to look out there as much. You will catch fish out of it.
Gotcha. Little deeper. Rizz, I'm going to throw it back to some Bass University TV subscribers. Team No Fish is always watching, and I want to give him a shout out. Thanks for the last question. What else do we have?
Sounds good. I don't think he's necessarily Team No Fish anymore because he's watching so much Bass U Live. It's impossible to not be catching fish after all this juice we're giving out. The Big Rig wants to know, is there a certain type of bottom that is better than another for dropping brush piles?
Bottom consistency, hard bottoms, soft bottoms. What are we looking for?
Big bottom, full lips and a big bottom.
Cobb, where you at, Cobb? Yeah, I always say hard bottom, but at the same time, I think when you're planting brush, I really don't think it matters.
How about you, Brandon? Do you have
I definitely think you want to look for a harder composition, because I know specifically a few of the like best ones I've ever fished or put out or whatever. They're always on, like, even if they're in the back of a creek, they're on some of the harder sections of that creek. Like you want to avoid the mush that looks just black on your side scan, you know, when you're looking.
I got you. That's it's always hard bottom. It seems like that's where the bait is, and that's where the bass are. It makes sense that you guys would pick that, and you guys that are watching, you want to participate and ask these guys questions. We've got an amazing panel with a lot of experience fishing and planting brush piles. Subscribe to Bass University TV. You can do it 30 days free right now, or pick up an annual subscription. We'll hook you up with a cool Tackle Warehouse coupon. So, and you do that, you come over, we use your question on the air, and we hook you up with a bunch of cool stuff. Rich, let's hook somebody else up. What do you got?
That's right. Anthony Darren wants to know, how do you guys position your boat when you're fishing brush piles?
Great question. Boat positioning. Who wants to tackle that one first?
Go ahead. All right. So when I pull up on a brush pile, you on my Lowrance, I can like touch the brush pile on the graph, and it tells me my range when I'm running up to it. And I always set my boat down probably about 250 feet to 300 from it, idle up till about 100 foot, which is like a little more than 30 yards, you know. And you want to be about as far as you can possibly reach it. If you're throwing topwater over a cane pile, then you can be a little farther away because you can really chunk a topwater. But when you're worm fishing, crankbait fishing a brush pile, I try to be as far as I possibly can and still hit it. But another thing to that, it takes a little practice on your brush piles. You need to know which way they're laying, because there's certain ways. Always keep in mind which way the limbs are pointed, because not only are you going to get hung pulling your bait through it, but if you hook a fish and are pulling it into the V's of the limbs, you're never going to get them out. So you always want to approach your brush piles. I know some lakes have current and like that, so you're generally wanting to throw up current to an extent and bring down, but you also want to make sure you always throw not into the V of the limbs, because you will never get a fish out. So always want to pull them with the limbs.
Man, that's some highly technical stuff. Yeah. Clent, I saw you use your sonar and your GPS points to position yourself. What advice do you have for guys in boat positioning?
Pretty much everything Cobb said. I try to stay, if the wind's blowing, of course, I try to stay downwind from it just to keep from blowing across it. Yeah. Same deal. Cobb touches his blue dot. I have rings on my Lowrance, head and line, and I zoom mine into 50 foot and know on those little, if you've got Lowrance, I think all electronics these days have them, but I put mine on the first 50-foot line there, and I know every time when I fire, I'm landing right into the brush pile.
Yeah, that was really cool. There's so many features on our sonar these days that allow us to do that kind of stuff. One of the questions that I have for you guys, and I'd like to see how you handle it, because I struggle with it a little bit, is waypoint management. Because, are you dropping your waypoints on the brush piles, or do you drop a point where you want to position your boat? Or do you, what is it you guys do with respect to waypoints? Let me start with you, Clent, being I got you on the big screen.
Yeah, it's for me, I just put it right on the brush pile. Now, if it's a pile that I pull up to all the time and make the exact cast and get bit, I'll definitely put a dot that I know, hey, here's the brush pile and here's where my boat needs to be. But usually it's just right on the brush pile.
Gotcha. Do you do anything, Brandon?
Yeah, I always just mark the brush pile with the side scan, and have the brush pile marked. And then I always put a waypoint where I got a bite, because a lot of times you'll start finding that's the best approach to it, the best angle. And so I always put a boat or bite waypoint and then the brush pile waypoint.
No, Ken, do you use different icons for those?
I do. I always put a tree for the brush. I put a rock for rock. And then if it's grass, same way. If it's tall grass, I put a big grass symbol. If it's low grass, I put a little grass symbol.
That's a little too complicated for me. Man, that's so obvious. That's awesome. Just genius,
It's impossible to overlabel your waypoints. Like,
that's right.
Do you guys use like dates and stuff too?
No, I've started doing that at one point and kind of got over that real quick.
Clent?
I used to write what they were.
Yeah, I just push the button. Usually it's blue.
So Clent does not designate the waypoints.
No, and he doesn't wear shoes when he fishes either. He's just straight at you.
But that making angles on the cast, and I got to go backwards here for a minute. Like shout out to Humminbird. I'm going to toot my own horn again on what happened over the weekend. If it wasn't for the understanding of those birds on the front of my boat, none of it would have happened, because it was 100% the angle of the casts that made the bite happen. And I got to imagine that it's the same with brush piles. You guys find that right angle that you need to bring that bait through that triggers the fish, and whether it's brush, whether it's grass lines, whether it's timber, whatever, those angles seem to be really, really important. So thanks Humminbird, for always keeping me squared away.
Rizz be tootin'.
Yeah.
I see it with crankbaits more than anything on brush. Definitely, there's always a certain cast that, whatever, I guess it comes right by where his house is in the brush pile, and you get bit every time. So definitely see it a lot with crankbaits in it.
Right. Well, it's these units are making everything amazing, and we can see so much, and it's changing the way we fish everything. Brush is no different. Rizz, I want to give away some more prizes. We got somebody else in the queue?
For sure. Mike O wants to know, Brandon and Clent, if you were going out this time of year and you're fishing brush piles literally tomorrow, what is your go-to bait going to be for tomorrow?
Go ahead, Cobb.
So if I'm going to fish brush pile, so I said the big worm and the crankbait as always. The one thing I add this time of year, you got to throw a drop shot. We're getting to that point of the year where they don't bite very well, and they just get hard to catch. And you got to have some type of small finesse worm on a drop shot in addition to the big worm and the crankbait, because I'll pull up and I'll throw my crankbait, maybe throw my big worm some, but it's just getting tough. And later in the year when they starts getting weird, like after July, pretty much, you start talking August, September, you have to finesse them a lot. So then drop shots added to the arsenal.
Do you throw a net at all?
I don't throw a net a ton on brush, actually. I was fishing with one of my buddies at some point earlier this year, and he caught a few on it. And I think that's the first time I've ever been with anybody or seen a Ned rig thrown on brush around here. So no, it's not something I really do very much.
Clent.
So
You
somebody
do?
asked me about Ned rig. So I throw the fire out of a Ned rig in brush. I actually throw it so much that I had Nichols lures make my own little head with an actual brush weed guard. It's called a Nichols toadstool.
That's right.
But yes, especially this time of the year when it's funky, then the Ned head will get chewed.
That's right. Let them get their drop shots hung up in the brush. Throw that Ned.
Yeah.
They'll come around.
Drop shot doesn't always get hung up though if you use a small hook and you Texas rig it.
Yeah, and the weight and all that other crap. Ned.
Yeah.
I see the Ned.
Yeah.
That Ned's a snaggy son of a gun.
Not this one. Did you hear him?
I guess a special one.
I'll send you some.
Don't worry about it. You're throwing chatterbait anyhow.
Yep.
Throwing the chatterbait
burning
on that meat
chatterbaits and
timber.
spinnerbaits right
Don't
up.
worry about it. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah. The BTC, what you got some questions? for the
Yeah,
guy?
we haven't touched any of the northern smallmouth lakes, and you never ever hear about planting offshore structure in some of these smallmouth lakes, but they're always offshore. Is any of that even going on? Is anyone planting?
Have you seen how bad I am at fishing for smallmouths in New York? So, I'm not going to be able to help very much there. I truly don't know. But I do know out of all the times I've fished up there, I don't think I've ever seen a brush pile. So I don't know. I mean, I would assume it would work.
It's either rock or contour driven.
I'm just telling you now, if somebody wanted to get brave on Lake St. Clair and go drop a bunch of brush out, it's over.
Corey Johnson
I'm still looking for it. Like, when's the man going to get smart enough to go drop brush piles all over this place? And maybe somebody has, but I'm telling you, if you drop wood in Lake St. Clair, it's over with.
Right.
Yeah. Corey Johnson said he was fishing a barrel every day. He saw.
What?
Yeah, and he said he caught a big one every day except for the last day.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, obviously it works then. There's just not enough to fish.
Yeah.
I'm racking my brain, BTC, because I spent a lot of time up in smallmouth waters, and
Dude.
you know, the
Fishing's
brush
just too good up there. They don't take the time to do it.
Yeah, I've seen some logs out on flats that that are naturally occurring, in my opinion, and I've seen smallmouth they get in the area, they don't seem to sit on it like the largemouth do, but they like being in the vicinity of something like that,
Gotcha.
That's what I've seen. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I never see brush out.
Thank you.
My gosh, you could probably dominate the field. Of course, guys, you got to also check, because a lot of this is illegal. They had one of the MLF tournaments won on brush piles just this year, and it's illegal to plant brush in Florida. And your state may have regulations. Like I know Brandon and Clent are up, with their chainsaws cutting down people's trees and dragging them in the water. But
I'll bring them from my house.
You got to be careful, guys. Got to stay within your but many states perfectly fine. You're absolutely allowed to.
It also blurs, it kind of pushes or blurs an ethical line too at some point. Especially when you talk about third parties moving brush piles for people and things like that. So it definitely, you got, there's extra things on the playing field with that whole deal. So I don't know. It's a little bit, it's on the edge.
Well, speaking of being on the edge, BTC, something that I have heard about is baiting brush piles.
Who?
Dropping dog food.
I've actually heard that. I don't know that it works. I've never heard anybody that's done it personally, but I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I've heard of guys dropping crawfish through PVC pipes in brush piles around here. I don't know if it's true.
Wow.
Maybe it was just the old sad soul that's pissed off because they're getting the crap bit out of them every Saturday. But I've heard the stories. I mean, I really have.
I've heard that. I've heard that too. Same story around here.
Wow. We have to drop our cameras down there and see what they're doing. But
the crawfish.
Wow.
The philosophy on the dog food is that, right? They do a can, they punch holes in it or something, and they drop it down there, and the dog food dissipates. It brings the bait fish into the pile, and the bass right along with it.
I've never tried it. I guess I need to experiment one day. Because most tournaments that's illegal. You're baiting.
True.
Yep.
Is it?
Might
Yes.
even be littering.
I'm 100% positive. If you look in the BASS rules, that is like fishing with live bait.
That's interesting. I'm going to look for that gray area. We're going to find a way to do it.
Everybody else does.
Whoever cheats best wins, right?
Pete would drop a can of Senkos down there and let them just
Yeah, right.
let it eat. You know,
If
That
you
brings
got a
them, right,
Senko,
Pete?
you don't need to bait your brush pile.
That's right. Just throw Senkos down there. Handful of
Yeah.
used Senkos.
That's crazy. And they drag them. I know you talked about it earlier, but that's really crazy. I guess guys drag the brush piles to try to hide them, like and mess with guys. They don't drag them to make them better, do they? Or
No,
is that
like-
a thing?
So this was
To move them.
and my friend Jason Johnson, he lives on Lanier. He fishes tournaments there every Saturday. Well, usually Lanier is just like Cobb saying, guy pulls up, you're not trying to touch the brush. You're throwing some kind of swim bait over the top or a top wire. Well, you pull up and you're not getting bit there anymore, so you don't even go back. Well, the truth is the guys, they take a hook to the back of their boat cleat, get on there and hook the pile and pull it over 50 foot. So the fish move with the brush pile.
All right.
Yep. So I mean, unless you're dragging a worm or something and knowing it's in there, then you're just thinking the fish aren't biting anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
The great and powerful Dave Mercer just chimed in and said it's not legal in most places. So this whole podcast has been for nothing.
It's not legal in most places, but yet there are brush piles in just virtually every single place
every
you
lake.
go. So
Yeah, I
South
would
Carolina.
imagine, especially in the north, you know, you'd think the New York
Yeah, in the
lakes
north, I
and
wouldn't
up there,
think
I would imagine that's not legal.
well, ask Dave. It's
In
if
South
it's-
Carolina, certain lakes have rules.
Okay.
In South Carolina,
Right.
certain lakes you're not allowed to, but then it's not technically a state law.
Well,
Hey,
I think if it's illegal to plant brush, maybe it should be illegal to fish it.
Fish it too.
Don't scan it.
We'll have to take that one up with Trip as well.
He's watching.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of Trip, you guys are all getting ready for your next derby. What's the next derby on the Elite Series?
We got 3 in a row.
Woo! Let's hear it.
Talk to me.
Yeah,
You
so
might
we
as well
got-
say 4 in a row.
Yeah, I guess 4, right? You got what, 2 weeks off in between? Yeah, so we have Gunnersville, end of the month, September 30th it starts. And then we have Santee Cooper. From there we are going to Chickamauga, and then we have about 2 weeks off, and we got Lake Fork.
When are you guys at Chick?
When?
Wow.
The
When are you guys at?
middle of October.
Your mic's off, Rizz.
When
for
are
some
you guys
reason.
at Chick?
Middle of October.
Okay, I think I'm there in first week in November.
For what?
That USA,
The Bassin thing?
yeah,
Is
that
that
USA
where it's at?
championship deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So you got Gunnersville coming up in the fall. Have any of you guys experienced Gunnersville
I'm sure
in
Clent
late
has.
September?
I when I was in college, back before I actually fished for a living, yeah, I spent a lot of time up there. Now, Gunnersville is still one of the best fisheries in the country, but it's nothing like it used to be. I think used to you could throw hot dogs and hamburgers out there and catch a bass, but
Wow.
now you got to work for them a little harder. But yeah, it should be a good frog bite and flipping bite. Somebody might, if we get warm weather, somebody might catch them out. What I say out deep, of course, it'll be probably one offshore because everything on that lake for the most part is offshore. But yeah, pretty much frogging and flipping there. Maybe a buzz bait.
Right. Well, it obviously is a great lake. Tough. It's going to be interesting. I love fishing in the fall. It changes everything. It's all about feeding. It's nothing about spawning. And that, for me, that's fun, man. I love it. I can't wait to watch it and watch you guys fish there. But the one I'm most excited about, I was talking with Brandon about this before the show started, was Santee Cooper, which is just an awesome lake. I love that lake. It's got cypress trees. It's got, it has grass. I don't know whether it has it now, but it used to. And giant largemouth. I can't wait to see you guys fish that in the fall. Have any of you guys? I guess nobody has experience fishing it there in the fall.
No, I only live about 2.5 hours maybe from Santee, but I've probably been to Gunnersville and Chick more than I've been to Santee, believe it or not, even living that close to it. So I kind of feel like I've wasted all these years. Like now we finally got a pro level tournament, a local-ish, and I don't know anything about it. But I do know for a fact nobody hardly ever fishes down there in the fall. So it'll be interesting. I don't think anybody knows what to expect.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I mean, they got the
I've
big
got my money
stripers
on-
and big catfish, you know.
I've got my money on Todd Halton and Patrick Walters. I think
Yeah.
they've probably spent a little time down there in the fall.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest.
true.
I'm as a fan, I'm super excited to see the fall tournaments. You know,
Yeah,
it's,
heck yeah.
it's every year. It's the same thing, and then you guys got off to go hunting and hanging the trees in the fall. So I'm as a fan, I'm really excited to see the fall events. That's my favorite time to fish, and just changes things up, man. Keeps it fresh. I like it.
I like it a lot too.
Go
And,
fish a tournament in the morning. Go kill ducks in the afternoon.
There you go.
Let's go. Bacon wrap,
Alex,
jalapeno and cream cheese. What up?
What's up?
So the SEC released their football schedules today, the TV schedule that is. And I text Trip. I'm like, all right, Alabama's 2:30 this date. I think it was one of the like we got to get the weigh-in times worked around the football. Trip usually he'd answer back. He didn't say anything, so 3 p.m. you'll be checking in.
Are you an Alabama fan, Clent?
Die hard.
Clint, I heard there's
Got a Clemson fan on the other line there. Yeah, die hard. I grew up around it. You don't really have a choice here. Either you're Alabama or Auburn, and Alabama, I guess, is the team I chose when I was probably 5 years old. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a great rivalry, and you get that down the south. Where we're from, it's like it's all about the pro football. You know, we're all pro fans. I'm an Eagles fan, and but we've got great colleges around there and great football teams in the region. But it's great to go down south. It's so fanatical. I remember fishing on Hartwell. Every single boat dock has a Clemson paw on it. You know that a footprint, and it's really cool to see the fanaticism. You know, so you're going to schedule around the weigh-ins, or at least you asked for that. Or schedule.
He's just going to check in early.
Yeah, probably not. I'd like we fished one during football season last year, and I just cut the radio on in the middle of the day and listened to the game and fished. We were the one Carl won. Where were we at? Somewhere out in Oklahoma.
10
killer.
10 killer.
I don't care. I'm going to be busting my tail, but I promise you, if Alabama's kicked off, I will be listening to the Tide play football while I'm trying like hell to catch a bass.
That's awesome, dude. I love it.
Oh man, I love it.
That's cool.
That's going to be great. And so you got a bunch of great fall tournaments coming up, and we can't wait to watch you guys fish them. Do we have anything else for the guys, BTC? Do you have anything else in the queue?
You guys got fruit fly problems down there? On the screen, it must look like I'm insane, but I'm swatting at fruit flies over here.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yeah,
I haven't seen one.
They're
All right.
just
Other
in,
than that,
just
no,
in
I
the
think it's-
studio.
Oh yeah, we
in
got
New
a Pete.
Southern
We got
New Jersey.
the Bass U battle, bro.
Oh my gosh, we got the Bass U battle.
Let's go.
That's why we have. That's why I ask you these questions,
That's right.
BTC. Yes. Have Brandon? We've had you on before. Have you ever done the Bass U battle?
I did, but I don't remember exactly how to do it or what it is, to be honest. I remember doing it, but I don't remember what it is.
Well, I probably won, being you don't remember. Well, what we do is we give you a set of conditions, and what we're going to do is we're going to give you the conditions. You give us how you're going to solve the problem, how you're going to catch that fish and win that tournament. And we will judge you based on your answer. And pick a winner for the Bass U battle. We've all been through it. We're battle beaten. We had a battle just before you guys came on, and Rizz won it. He's on a winning streak right now, and he won again.
The Bay.
Yeah, but we're gonna be talking about brush piles. So what I'm gonna do is who's gonna go first? GDP, you pick who goes first.
I'm gonna say let's pick Cobb to go first.
All right.
All right. You're batting cleanup, Clent.
All good.
It's late summer, like it is right now. Deep southeastern impoundment. These questions are courtesy of Professional Fish Head, by the way.
There's two from Justin. I think the first and the third, and the middle one comes from GDP.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. You're a deep southeastern impoundment with both largemouth and spotted bass. Everywhere is fishing stingy. Yeah, it's just like now. They won't even eat a shaky head or a drop shot. What kind of brush piles are you running, and how are you catching them? Brandon, you are up.
So if you're not catching them on a drop shot and everything like that, then there's only one type of brush pile in a southeast lake like that. I mean, you got your typical, your deeper, your 15 to 18 foot brush. We're just talking about that. And they're stingy, spotted bass, and largemouth. So if you're not catching them on a drop shot, they're looking at small bait towards the top, generally. So if that's the situation, you're almost looking for more schoolers schooling around the brush than you are trying to fish the specific brush. So I'm still throwing a drop shot because I don't care how stingy it is. There's a couple that'll bite a drop shot on the brush every now and then. But I'm keeping a very small top water, like a Yozuri pencil or a small Yozuri popper on a spinning rod, ready to throw at schoolers eating tiny bait. If it's late summer in Southeast Reservoir, that's why it's tough, because they're looking at tiny bait on the top.
Tiny bait on the top, going after them with top water, those stingy fish. Clent, how are you attacking this?
Pretty much what he said. I'll add one more thing to that. I like a jerk bait. Absolutely love a jerk bait from August on. Jerk baits over the top of brush for me, or especially here on the Coosa Chain Lakes, are absolutely killer. I don't care, especially spotted bass. I don't care how small a bait they're after. Just something about ripping a jerk bait 100 miles an hour. So one of them's coming to eat it.
You lose because you stole my answer.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Top water versus a jerk bait, man. They're both excellent solutions to the problem. Both great answers. Brandon, you're so scientific. I love it, man. You're just like, boom, you're all over it with a really paint a good picture, good strategy. But I'm giving this one to Clent.
Peter, we all voting on this, or you just there's some kind of dictatorship?
It's a dictatorship.
Okay, all right.
No.
We can all vote on it. My vote is I'm going with Clent on the jerkbait, and I'm doing that because I just did a seminar with Kevin Van Dam where he talks about jerkbait in 12 months a year. Most people put it down, and it's a very very cool technique to be using in different times of year. So that's why I'm picking you, Clent. What do you got, BTC? You chiming in? Who you picking?
I got Cobb.
Okay.
I liked the way he was going about it. It's more kind of how I would. So it just suited me a little bit better. Justin Kimmel's weighing in here, and Justin likes both answers.
He's
see, hold
Cobb.
on. And he's leaning towards Cobb as well.
Hey, I just all I did was said I would do what Cobb did plus one more.
This is my answer.
I like Cobb's answer too. Go to Cobb.
No.
Hold on, we ain't done yet.
No.
You ain't done yet?
This is my answer. So I was the one that Bass you'd battle against Cobb, and he beat me. So I'm picking Clint Davis.
Yes. Comes down to you, Rich.
Just a spite vote. I love it. That's great.
No offense, bro.
I gotta respectfully bow out of the vote because I was on the message board and responding to messages, so I honestly cannot give a fair opinion. But if I had to lean,
Hold on. We can have a tie here.
Wait, all right. If I had to lean one way or the other, it's definitely still going to be a tie because I love Clint's Coosa cotton hat. Shout out to the boys. I met those guys down in Alabama last winter, and they've been really cool to me ever since. So shout out to Coosa Cotton. But Brandon has an awesome, it's the same thing we're wearing, but he's at his house. So I'm wondering either he works for NASA or he's big into video games to have a headset, one or the other. But it looks really awesome. So they both got really cool stuff on their head, so I'm still going to call it a tie.
That's
right.
Good. Rizz goes by clothing. And
who knew?
Yeah. Ties it up. It's even up, man. It's 2-2, and Rizz gives each guy a half a point. So the first one's a tie. There's no
First
winner.
ever.
Or both
Shootout.
winners. Yep. That was do you want to read the next question, GDP? Means you it's
Yeah, I
your
gotta look it
question.
back up. Hold on.
I can read it. It's right here if you're
Go
not,
for it,
if you're
Pete.
not ready.
Go ahead,
You want me
Pete.
to go for it?
Yeah.
Okay. You're on a tidal body of water. I don't know how much tidal water experience.
That's why I
you
put it,
guys
because
have.
I actually know this
Yeah.
answer, so I'm waiting for them to answer it.
Okay.
Justin
Well, we're
Kimmel
gonna-
said Cobb helped win him a boat, so he gets the tiebreaker. on this.
This is all like political now.
Off of brush
It's
piles.
dirty,
Off of
man.
brush
It
piles.
happens quick, doesn't it?
The dean's calling it a draw. It's a good vote. But you're on a tidal body of water now. Is there a different approach you would take when fishing the incoming tide versus the outgoing tide on your brush you buried all over the river? By the way, all the brush is off the bank, so at low tide, they still have water on them. So they stay wet even at low tide. Are you fishing your brush on the incoming tide? Or is there a different approach on the incoming tide versus the outgoing tide on your brush piles? Brandon, you went first last time. Clent, you're up.
I mean, I've never fished a brush pile on the tidal water. I do know this because I've actually had a pretty good bit of success at the Potomac for some reason. Because I've only fished there 4 or 5 times, but it seems to have been good to me. But yeah, the outgoing tide is when I would fish the brush. So maybe that's wrong, but seems like when I would hit it.
Yeah. Okay. What's your approach? How are you going to catch them on that?
Every time going to the Potomac, I'd just do a swim jig. I guess I would reel a swim jig by it and probably catch them on it.
Love the honesty.
With the game on in the background.
We overthink fishing way too much, man.
Right?
Swim
That's
jig,
why
brush.
he's beating all us in the points.
Yep. Outgoing tide. I love it. All right. Now we're going to the professor.
I got no idea, but all I know is I catch a lot of redfish off docks at low tide, and that's tidal. So I'm saying at low tide, and I would throw a crankbait because that's what I throw on brush piles.
Well, crankbaits do work well in tidal systems.
Or outgoing tide, crankbait. That's my answer. Final answer.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna judge this one first again.
This is another tie.
Swim jig. The swim jig.
0-0.
I staked my hopes in the swim jig this weekend on the Upper Bay, and it failed me. So Clent, you're out. Crankbait is winning this one. I'm giving it to Cobb.
Oh man.
Sorry about your swim jig problems.
Pete's swim jig problems on the message board.
I have many. I get it. BTC, you're up next.
I don't ever recall fishing brush piles on tidal water either. So I'd love to recuse myself from this.
First off, both you guys did not answer the question at all. But besides that, I guess I got to pick Cobb because I've never actually threw a swim jig through a brush pile. That's one of the crankbaits. So I guess I'm picking Cobb. Rizz? Who did you pick, Brian?
Oh my God!
He's still
Think
thinking.
about it.
He could tie it up again.
Justin Kimmel's going with Clent.
We're tied up there.
I see it coming.
So,
BTC, somebody.
man, I don't know who wins that. I mean, I'm probably if it was me, I'd probably throw a crankbait over a swim jig, but.
Yeah.
You know, that could be a really effective technique. I'm in my head, I'm thinking about how you could really make that happen. And if it's a shallow brush pile, you know, maybe upsize the line to maybe 25-pound fluoro, so it has a lot of buoyancy to it, and a bulky trailer, so it kind of wants to rise over and not dig down in. That might work too. You know what? Actually, hold on. I'm going back on it. I'm going with Clent on the swim jig because I feel like the fish are probably not going to see. They're going to see a lot more crankbaits than they are going to see swim jigs that come through with
okay.
less intrusive approach. So I'm going swim jig.
We got swim jig. What did Kimmel say? Is it crankbait?
He was going with Clent because Cobb's fishing for redfish.
Okay. Wow, look at this. De Palma, you said crankbait, right?
Yeah, I
You're
picked
going
Cobb.
with Cobb.
Yep.
You're going with Cobb. I'm BTC. We need your vote, man.
Oh,
Dang it.
What's the message board say? Did they say anything?
you know what? The swim jig makes more sense. I initially thought crankbait, but the swim jig makes sense. It's a jig for Christ's sake. Throw that in the
gives
brush.
The tiebreaker.
The swim jig has no chance of working in this situation, but Clent wins anyway.
I think this is the tournament me and Clint finished 80th and 81st.
Oh, that's great. Oh, so that's tied up.
Hey,
1-1.
swim. Huge secret: swim jigs actually do work in brush piles. By the way,
Yeah, I'm just messing.
You throw a
with you.
swim jig and you win the tournament. That's just that's always a good call.
I think
But
it's
actually
1-1.
not tied. It's not tied because the first round was a
Tied.
complete tie.
It's 1-0.
Round two,
Ah.
Clint.
Yeah,
So
Clint's
he's
winning.
You
up.
got me.
Yep. Brandon needs to win this for a tie. And then we'll figure out some kind of tiebreaker. All right. This is back to
arm wrestle.
Yeah. I
I
like
think Clint will beat me.
taking you out to Texas. All right, getting you guys out of your element a little bit. You're at one of those classic Texas giant bass fisheries like Fork, or of course you've got a little edge there, Cobb, because you won there. But the
yeah.
Fork, it's one like it, it's placed like it. You find that the brush is loaded with largemouth, but the water you found them in is super clear and it's dead slick calm. Fishing pressure is crazy. How do you catch them? Mr. Cobb, you're up.
So I'm going 2-step approach. Number one, you can finesse them. Light line, 6-8 pound test, which is not ideal because it's Texas. You might not get them all in the boat. And then outside of that, I'm going with speed, crankbait, reeling as fast as I can and crashing it into the brush. So and I'm probably leading with the crankbait, unless it seems to be messing the fish up where you can't catch them on, the follow-up approach with the finesse fishing. But speed with a crankbait and then ultra finesse with spinning rods, 6-8 pound test, drop shot, nail weight worm, something like that.
Speed, finesse.
What kind of worm are you nail weighting, Brandon, and how are you rigging that?
So I've done it with all of them. I mean, I usually have like a super finesse and then more of a power one. I'll have like a Magnum trick worm and then also like a.
Where'd you go, Cobb?
A Magnum.
You doing a share?
He's frozen.
Magnum Zoom
Now
finesse
here-
worm, right? That's what he's using. That's my guess.
What's that?
Am I here? I think I lagged out for a minute. All right.
You were talking about a Magnum something.
So I said when I'm nail weighting a worm, I usually have 2 different ones on. I've got one for more power one, like a Magnum finesse or mag trick worm with a nail weight, and then I'll have one like a super finesse one, like a Morning Dawn, a pink like a Zoom original drop shot worm, or something finessey trick worm style.
Excellent. All right, got some details out of Mr. Cobb. Mr. Davis, how you catching those clear water brush pile giant Texas bass?
So I guess I gotta ask also the rest of is this for a bass tournament or am I just doing bass fishing?
This is a tournament. This is like the world championship.
I was going to say live bait, but honestly, man, Cobb and I mean, we talk everything fishing, I guess, everywhere we go. But yeah, dude, I guess y'all going to hold this as a tie because I would do everything what that Cobb just said. There's nothing I would change other than usually if I got a couple of loaded piles, I would hit them early. I mean, there's always a timing in the day when those fish will feed, and usually daylight's the best time.
That's a good
So
point.
basically,
I like
you're
that.
stealing Cobb's answer, except for you're going in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing I would change about what he just said. I mean, that's exactly how I would probably approach it as well.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
There's the answer.
Yep.
We're talking about brush piles. I think there's an ethical problem. I think it's sneaky to begin with. And I think Clent, you sneakily stole Cobb's answer. And I'm giving you the win on this one.
It's still a tie, man. Never had a tie.
We do have a tiebreaker question.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, if we get there.
What if he
All
answers the
right.
question for him again?
Let's get there. We got to vote.
All right, who's next? You are.
GDP, you got to vote.
Well, I guess since Cobb answered it first, I kind of want to go with Cobb, but
I mean, I would.
Clint,
Yeah, you're
Clint
right.
runs a
So-
Phoenix, and I do too. I'm gonna go with Cobb
I
because
feel
wanna
like this
see a
got real
tiebreaker.
political.
Are you picking Cobb? I
Cobb.
think it's. You know why I thought you were going to pick Cobb?
Why?
Because he said morning dawn.
I thought
I'm
about
like
that.
that's why he's
Good
picking it.
color.
Morning
Yeah,
dawn.
good color. All right, Rizz, you want to weigh in here?
Yeah. They both had the same answer. I mean, Clint kind of expanded on it a little bit, but you know what? I gotta go with Brandon on this because if I'm ever in a pinch and I need a pinch, I want to make sure he's in my corner in that moment. So Brandon, I'm going with you on this one.
I would pick.
I mean, we're on the same. We're on the same wave.
If
So.
you were in a pinch, I'd pick Clint. He's a lot bigger. You can probably fight a lot better.
No, I said if I'm in a pinch and I need a pinch, I'm going with Brandon.
That's funny.
I took guns nowadays. I don't fight anymore.
There you go. BTC.
All right. Well, did JK weigh in on this?
Yeah, listen, we got a tie. That's
Well, wait a minute.
that's three for Cobb right there, and that ties
No,
this thing up.
that's 2 for Cobb, 1 for Clent.
Oh well, shoot. Well, I'm going
God
with Cobb.
wins.
Brandon Cobb answered it first.
Well, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
BTC going with Cobb.
I'm going Cobb.
All right,
Well,
so
then
what's the
it
tiebreaker?
doesn't matter what JK picks because
Yeah, I
Cobb
got a tie-breaking question here. We had one in the queue.
Hey, okay, you go for the tiebreaker, but great job, guys. You guys tied it up using all kinds of
Christ, it's
cheats,
amazing.
sponsorship relationships, chewing tobacco. So many factors.
Southern blend, baby. Come on.
Flat out tie. Good job. What do you got? What's the tiebreak? BTC?
All right, here it goes. Now you're on a Herring Lake in the southeast. It's late September, early fall, and it's been hot. The rain and clouds set in with wind blowing 20 plus. You can't go to the bank because you know the winning fish are out off the bank. What kind of piles are you running, and how are you getting them to bite in that mess? Pete, take it over.
All right. Well, who'd we go first on the? We went Clint. We got to give you out of the gate on this one because we can't allow you to steal Cobb's answer.
All good. You said late September and the water's rough. There's literally 3 baits I'm going to throw, and it's going to be a number. I mean, brush piles are a numbers deal to me, anyways. But I'm going to go with the jerk bait, the crankbait, and some kind of a swim bait. You get around, especially those kind of conditions. I mean, fish aren't rocket scientists. You get them around them in those conditions when they're feeding, you're going to catch them.
Okay. Jerk bait, crankbait, swim bait.
So we're talking. Is it sunny?
Well, it's blowing 20.
Blowing 20.
Yeah, early fall. It's been hot. Late September, rain and clouds.
But I'm still throwing a top water first over every pile because it still works. The biggest one I got, big 3-hook top water, and then in addition to that, I'm throwing a Zoom super fluke to keep it down just a little bit if they're not coming up to eat the top water. I've caught them in 4-footers on top water, and then if they won't come up, throwing a fluke.
Excellent. Let me ask you this, guys. And I meant to ask you this question when we were talking about it. This is all a lot of brush pile fishing is running and gunning. How do you set a timer Do you just fish by feel? But how long do you give each stop?
5 casts, 6 casts. At
5?
most. Heron Lake 2 to 3. Yeah, Heron Lake 2 to 3 casts.
How do you do that? Oh my God.
It's
I feel
annoying.
like you got to
Awesome.
make
Terrible.
at least 20 casts, you know?
Yeah,
They'll come back
I'm
later.
fi-
Just fish it multiple times.
Okay.
I'm 5 minutes, 5 casts, same thing. If after that third and you're like, all right, I'm just trying to make him bite, it's probably time to move on because either they're not there or they're not biting anyways.
Man, smashing it up. Man, that's running and gunning right there. All right, guys, we got Clent, jerkbait, crankbait, swim bait. Both guys are making 5 minutes, 5 casts. So actually, Cobb's 2 to 3 casts. Big top water. Man, I just love big top water. I threw it all day this weekend. I thought I was going to win with it, and it didn't work out for me. But man, when it does, it's amazing. And I know that's a herring deal. I'm going with Cobb. That's my vote. DDP, talk to me.
I'm gonna go with Clent on this one. I'm gonna go with him solely because of the swim bait. Because is that what you're gonna say? I just feel like everything I've ever researched, man, just always gears towards the swim bait with brush piles.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm picking Clent.
And I gotta go. I gotta go the same way. That swim bait, man, is such a killer. And when you get a good feel for it, you can fish it so clean through stuff, and even when you get hung, you can bounce it right out, and that's a lot of times when they bite it. So the swim bait put me over the edge there.
All right, Brian, that's all
up
on
to
you
you.
unless you got another tiebreaker.
I'm going with Clent because I haven't caught a fish on a fluke since like the early 90s.
Come to a Heron Lake.
Yeah, Cobb would catch him on it. I promise you.
and Justin went with Brandon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So to tally it up, here it is, the tiebreaker. It's just shocking to me, but it's a 3-2 win, and this one goes to Clent, who wins the Bass U battle. The tiebreak puts you over the top. Man, oh man, that's awesome. I thought for sure the top water was going to win that one, but it didn't do it. You know, just like it didn't do it for me this weekend.
Sorry, Brandon. You gotta buy him dinner now.
Hey guys, I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys playing along, and we had a good time doing it. I wish you guys tremendous luck out on tour.
Yes.
If guys want to catch up with you guys, how can they do it on social or your website? How can they do it?
Facebook and Instagram, Brandon Cobb Fishing. I need to get the YouTube thing going. Don't really have much on there yet, but Facebook and Instagram is where I keep everybody updated on the season.
How about you, Clent?
Yeah, same thing for me. Instagram, Facebook is Clent Davis Fishing. I've got about 4 YouTube videos. Feel free to go watch. But it's a wife and a 5-year-old, and I've got enough on my plate. So Facebook, Instagram, Clent Davis Fishing. Always posting something on them.
Clent Davis Fishing. Well, guys, it was awesome. Like you said, we're going to be following you. We're going to be watching you in these fall tournaments. I wonder how brush piles will play as we get late in the season here. But we'll be watching. We'll let you guys go. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us. 2 great champions, Brandon Cobb and Clent Davis. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate your time.
Yes,
Thank you
very much, man. Good stuff.
Thank you for having us. See y'all. Bye-bye.
All right, we'll see you guys. That was a lot of fun, man.
That was fun.
Yeah,
we
learned a lot. I really like some of the judging that everybody weighed in on. Getting real biased.
Dude, they were actually 2 really good guys to have on because they're the same but they're opposite. Clent just flat out does what works, and then Brandon's more technical. Which we like too. But it's good to see both sides of it. And they're both extremely good fishermen, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Brandon is detail oriented and technical and scientific, and he's really and Clent just is right at you, man. He's simplified.
That's it.
And and both of them, man, and I wrestle with that. Like I'm always trying to simplify. That's something that I wrestle with, and But
You're doing pretty good with it, Pete.
I have as of late, 5 inches, tail weighted.
Tail weighted. That's hilarious. Changing colors now.
Yeah, I do change
black, blue.
Black flake.
Black flake. Yamamoto's gonna have a new color. Black flake.
Black
Sorry,
with a
Pete.
black trailer. That's funny. Well, yeah, it was really cool. It was great having them, and appreciate all the guys weighing in over at bashu.tv. And guys, if you're watching or listening to us over at iTunes, use the code BASHU30, get yourself 30 days free, or subscribe annually. We'll hook you up with a Tackle Warehouse shopping spree over there for all the new annual subscribers. And download the app, guys. It's amazing. It really allows you to use Bash University in a really cool way on your mobile device. So go check that out, and give us your feedback on that stuff. We've been getting a lot of 5-star ratings on our app.
What?
GDP.
Yeah, that app's awesome, man.
Yeah,
It's good stuff.
been pretty.
We got anything on the message board, Rich?
Yes, we certainly do.
Let's give a shout out real quick. Sean McKee, man, he's
yeah.
he got second place as a conger again
Again.
on the BFL, the same one Rizz won. The guy is just incredible in the back of the boat, and he's just, dude, he's like, I fished with him so many times. He's so respectful, and he does so darn good.
He's really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
And we'll talk this week, Pete. But we had done one in the past, a show focused on co-anglers. We had Chad Smith and our own Justin Kimmel as pro-cos, guys that really, really excelled from the back of the boat. And it's a topic we want to go back to. And we've talked to Sean, and Sean's at the top of the list. So maybe we'll be back next week with that one.
Well, that sounds good. We'll have to talk about it. It's
a
very strong possibility that I may be down at the Toyota tournament down on the Potomac next week.
Oh, okay. All right.
But we'll try to
Maybe
work
take
that
a week
out.
off.
Yep, we'll figure something out. I want to give a shout out also to the winner of Ike's Derby. His name is Anthony Divilets.
Huh?
Anthony Divilets. He's a young kid from up in New England, and he's connected with our friend Dan Kenny, who we've done a lot of Bash Universities with at his outdoor shows. At
The online tournament that they just had?
the online
Ike Foundation
tournament that they
event?
just had. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Exactly. And
How's that name go?
Anthony Divilets. Divilets. I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
Anthony.
I'm as bad as
Sorry,
Mike is with names. I promise
Thanks for
you.
watching.
Yeah.
Send all your complaints
hey.
to Pete Glusick.
.com.
Hey, my name gets butchered all the time. I got no sympathy.
Same.
So but
Diploma.
congratulations, Anthony, and shout out to Dan Kenny. That was a great event, and congratulations. There's been a lot. Sean McKee, I was fortunate enough to fish with him a couple times, as well as Moo Bay, who won the tournament, who fished with Rizz, and man, that Moo's been around a long time, and I mean to tell you, every time he gets in my boat, which has been several times, he absolutely crushes them from the back of the boat.
Nice.
How did he do with you, Rich?
He caught 2 fish throughout the day, and that was enough to get him the win on the co-angler side as well.
Yep.
He had a pretty good lead going into it, so he managed to put 2 in the boat, which was enough to hold on. So he got the win as well. And I know I just brushed on this a little bit earlier in the show about Humminbird and the units up there, but literally without the waypoint management and without the understanding of the electronics, none of it would have happened, because like I said, the angle on the casts on that deal was so important. And to Moo's credit, he did not have a ton of room to work off of as far as fishable water behind me or parallel, and it's just the way it worked out. It's the way I had to position the boat to fish it effectively, and he still managed to catch fish. So, that really goes to credit to him. He broke out some finesse techniques. He caught his 2 fish on a drop shot behind me. So, if you're a co-angler out there, even if you have a boater that's putting you in, a less than ideal position, it's not impossible to catch them. You can go to those, finessier techniques and still get it done.
Yep.
I was using the Mega 360 imaging in this tournament and fishing the grass edges. It was just so simplistic. I'd never really just had such an easy time just following the edges. That was really cool. What else I noticed about it was when I needed to fish, like I fished some isolated brush piles and some isolated rock, and they're really tricky to find. And man, oh man, it took no time at all. It took 2 seconds. You just gotta get within vicinity of that stuff, and it lights it up for you, and you can get your baits right on it. So yeah, shout out to Humminbird as well as the new Raptors that I used on my boat this year.
Yeah, how are they, Pete? I haven't seen.
Man,
them.
they're just great. They're just great, Greg. They have that bottom lock.
Yeah, sensitivity.
Yeah, it's really cool. When the waves come and they start trying to move you, they keep trying to find bottom. They keep trying to find bottom, and they do, and they keep you secured. It's pretty
Awesome.
Pretty cool technology.
Yeah, I'm excited to get them.
Yeah, real steady, good efficiency, good speed, quiet. I was happy with them all. Happy with all that stuff. So, man, what do we got? We got to give away a like and share winner.
And a grand
Rizz.
prize.
Do you have him picked out?
Let's do the trivia question for the grand prize first, and then we'll.
We have a trivia question.
Yes, we do. Compliments of our very own JK, and the question for the
It might not be as technically difficult or as deep as Ken Duke's,
but it's still a good one because it's a good fact here.
That's right.
We just had him on the show, Brandon Cobb. He has 2 third place finishes in the FLW Cup. He has 2 third place finishes in the FLW Cup. What lakes were those third place finishes on?
And Google.
Go.
That's a Google question. We're gonna find that answer out quick. Well, what the heck? The ones that Duke gave, the guys were so quick. I mean, you couldn't Google them, but they were still able to get his questions answered in seconds.
A lot of bass out there.
Amazing, the Bass University crowd.
Yeah, we draw.
You guys want to go over under on a minute?
Oh, it's under.
Under?
It's got to be under.
All right.
Yeah, what's the bet?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Shots.
The mic shots.
And we have a winner. Dustin Randall. Congratulations, Dustin Randall.
All right.
You are the winner. You won yourself
prizes.
a Bass University official camouflage hat, a Rod Warrior rod sleeve, a Flambeau tackle box, some VMC hooks, a Bass University shirt, and a rod threading device. So congratulations, Dustin Randall.
Lord.
You won
I
yourself
don't remember
a pretty.
authorizing all these gifts, Rizz.
Well, Pete, sometimes you just got to you gotta just make plays, and it's better to do things than ask. It's better to ask for forgiveness than beg for permission. So that's what we're giving away.
Warehouse is going to be empty in no time.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. Congratulations.
We'll talk about it at the midweek meeting. Yeah. And fun fact, Cobb fished 4 cups and all top 10s.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
He's a hammer man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fishing big. That's like, I like that about Ike. Ike always like top 10s, the big tournaments. That's just fascinating because it's really, really hard to do. But Ike will even be having an average year, but he gets into the classic or the cup and he's top 10s,
I got a question I want to answer myself. I almost had Dave Mercer ask it actually. Like, who weighs more, Brandon Card or Brandon Cobb? Because they're both.
I'm going with Cobb.
They're both skinny as a rail.
I'm going with Cobb.
I got Cobb.
Yeah, I got Cobb.
Funny.
Sure. All day.
It's funny you say that because I'm like getting ready for the open of this show, and I'm like, I know I'm going to say Brandon card. I know I'm going to say
How
Brandon's
dare
card.
you? I'd fire you.
You know?
Yeah.
I got it right. I was like, I knew I was going to screw it up.
He
but,
still has my and Rich put it up on the Bass U Instagram page today, maybe Facebook too. But his fish catch, where was that last year?
Fork.
Oh,
when he hit that 11 something, and in the 11 something hit him right back.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I love that so much. I've seen it 100 times.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
The sound of the
great.
line just hitting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's huge fish, and he's a great personality. He's really great for Bass University, and appreciate his involvement here because he is so analytical, and he really can paint a nice picture for somebody trying to learn.
It's like the Bob Cobb of Bass University.
That's right.
I'm not Bob Cobb. Damn it! I blew that one. Bob Ross. Moment's over.
Who's Bob Ross?
It's Bob Ross of Bass University.
I was happier with Bob Cobb. I knew who that was.
I said paint a picture.
Yeah, I got you.
Now I get it. Now I know who that was.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I said,
I got you now.
Moment's gone.
Yeah, the moment's gone. But
All right, man, let's wrap it up. We got to pick a like it share winner.
Got
run
that.
through that deal and take us home, homie.
Who's the winner?
Our like and share winner tonight for the Facebook Bass University Live like and share winner is Brett Stone. Congratulations, Brett Stone. You won yourself a Humminbird hat, a TH Marine G-Force handle, and a Flambeau tackle box. Congratulations, Brett Stone. You are the winner. I will be reaching out to you on social media for your information.
Excellent. And look for a lot of great stuff coming at Bass University TV.
Yeah, we got the Kevin.
We've got Kevin Van Em is going to be released next week, and it's going to be Finesse Power. I don't know. It's amazing. I watched it. I watched him do it, and it's truly awesome. But I watched him fish in 20 to 40 feet of water as fast as he fishes in 5 feet of water, and that's going to be released next week. So look for that soon. And we got a lot of great stuff, including the definitive jerkbait lessons, the master class from Kevin. And we've got schooling bass. Oddly enough, we're talking not oddly enough, but we put that together. Schooling bass with Fred Rombanis and some grass fishing with James Watson are all upcoming seminars on Bass University TV.
Watson fishes grass with a. All right.
Was it Whopper Plopper?
Whopper Plopper and a spoon.
And a spoon.
And Freddie's out there with his frog fishing schooling fish. That's the visions I had in my head.
He likes to flip that spoon in the hydrilla.
Yeah.
In the milk.
Hey, why not?
But we'll look for that coming on Bass University TV real soon. Guys, that's what's happening. Thanks for spending your Tuesday evening with us. We appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys subscribing to Bass University. GDP, thanks for you coming by and being with us tonight.
Always.
Appreciate that. And I want to thank Brandon Cobb and Clent Davis for being with us tonight.
They were awesome.
Really, they were awesome. They were a lot of fun. Thank you, BTC and the Rizz. Thank you guys.
Thank
Getting
you,
this golf. BTC 7 on the button, man. That's awesome.
You ready?
Got us off the show right on time.
I know.
It's
And
like-
and we're going to roll out to a moment from Rich's weekend.
Which one is it?
The one we ain't played yet. The last one.
Okay. Cool.
You want to set it up?
Sure. So if it's the one I think it is, I think it's the
Game over?
game over. I think that's the third fish that I caught on a spinnerbait late in the day on Sunday, and when it hit the net, everything out of my body just fell out. I didn't even have enough emotion left in me to scream like I did for the last. I didn't have much of a voice by Sunday night, but you'll see the rest. You'll see the rest.
All right, here we go.
I can't wait to see it. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back next week with more Bass University TV. We're rolling out with Rizz, the champ, on the flats this weekend. Thanks everybody for watching. Good night, everybody.
See you guys.